I come home, I'm looking at ESPN. All the lights turn dim, the TV turns off, and I thought my kids were playing a trick on me. I look up, and there's nobody there. When I turned around, there were these two beings right there. And, man, hold on.
Whoa.
Sorry. And they had the big almond eyes like you see on TV. I swear they did. I felt like my brain was shaking in my skull to the point where it started hurting, and I started screaming, but no sound was coming out. A few seconds later, it stops. They don't walk like a person. They kind of dangle. And they went right through the wall, and then boom, the TV comes back, the lights come back to normal color. It was just traumatic for everybody. I basically lost my whole family over this. I kept hearing this voice in my head over and over again. Finally, the next day I got so tired of this, I couldn't stop this noise, this phrase. So I go to my computer. First thing popped up was .org, and I almost fell out of my chair.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Flagrant. Today, we are joined by the holder of forbidden knowledge, Billy Carson, and we are getting to the bottom of all the conspiracies. We got Antarctica, ancient civilizations, we got the pyramids, we got black dick length, and Billy Carson is going to fill us all in. No diddy. Indulge. Take us back to Anunnaki. Mm-hmm. What are they? Well, these giants?
Yeah. Okay, the Anunnaki, they are these beings that came from off-world.
So these are aliens?
These are aliens. Now, what's interesting about these aliens is that they're not little green men with antenna. Yeah. They're actually hominids, bilateral bipedal hominids. They look just like us.
Okay.
You slice them in half. They have two forward-facing-looking eyes, two hands, legs. They put their pants on one leg at a time like us.
But do they look more like us or more like us?
They look like we look like them.
Okay.
We actually look like them.
Okay.
And the reason why is because we have their genetics and their DNA inside of our bodies. Mm. Now, what's interesting is these beings were a spacefaring race that broke away from the Pleiadian star system. The Pleiadian star system is a group of stars called the Seven Sisters in the night sky. You can see 6 stars with the naked eye. Now, these stars in ancient times, according to ancient texts and tablets, there was an ancient galactic war there.
Okay.
Most of the information from Star Wars comes from this text. And this war, they had these destroyers like Death Stars. They don't call them that, but they call them the Brahma-Astra and Brahma-Astra Honda weapons that actually can release a weapon that can destroy planets.
Okay.
Imagine if you're in a star system and a planet is being blown up and you're in a nearby planet. You got to get off of your planet.
Yeah.
Mm. This created something called space refugees. Nobody's talking about this.
Where are you getting this information again? Where is this?
The Mahabharata, the Bhagavad Gita, the Indian Vedas.
So these are ancient Indian texts.
That's right.
5,000 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the Enuma Elish,
I just want
which
to
is
let
Sumerian.
You know. And I want to get to this, but for this entire episode, we're not fact-checking. Okay. Okay. We're not debating. We're not pushing it. Take us down the rabbit hole. We want to see how deep it goes.
The people can listen to what I'm saying, and they can go look all of it up.
Fuck them. Take us down the rabbit hole,
I'm taking
Billy.
you, man.
Okay, let's go.
So we're talking about... We're talking about the evidence, the very first evidence of space refugees.
So you're seeing this in these ancient Indian texts.
Yeah.
Okay. You come across this and you're like, okay, let me see if there's some truth to this because I'm seeing this across multiple ancient Indian texts.
Right.
Any other text referencing this?
The Terra Papers, an ancient indigenous American text as well.
Okay.
Very little known text that hardly anyone talks about. The Hopi tribe elders have written this book based on that text and published it, actually. It's called the Terra Paper, so that it wasn't just in indigenous lore, but it made it finally to publishing. So it's actual text that we can all read and get access to. It reads like the Star Wars movie. Just take out the love stories and all that. And what's interesting is it talks about, again, these same galactic wars going on. People fleeing from that region of space, looking for other planets, Orion, Aldebaran, Sirius A, B, and C, which we know the Dogon talk about people coming from Sirius B, which is a star that ran out of fuel, and of course Earth. And they came here to create a breakaway civilization. Just like if there was a war, and there was in our solar system, that's what we call Mars, the god of war, we're going to be like, we got to get off this planet because the debris is going to destroy us.
So we're the product of pussy aliens, basically. Like aliens who weren't ready to bang and fight for their future and their freedom. They just ran. We're defectors.
They were the elites that had the access to the ships that can take them from one star to another.
So are they like the politicians that like didn't go to Vietnam?
Right. Exactly.
Got it. So we're the product of like rich, privileged kids.
They're the guys with the $10,000 suits that just sent everyone out to die.
They would be protesting at Columbia, right?
Correct.
Got it. Okay, good. Got it. Okay,
that's who these people are. And so some of them came to Earth. And so Anunnaki is a general term. It doesn't mean one race. It's just like if all of us here got in a spaceship and flew to Mars and we met a Martian and he said, "Who are you guys?" We'd say Earthlings.
Got it. But they maybe would call us Anunnaki.
Right. Yeah, I wouldn't say I'm Billy Carson from Fort Lauderdale.
Yeah.
Right. So they would they're Earthlings. That's one term, but we're all different races here.
Right.
Right. So, but Anunnaki is a term to say those who came from heaven to earth. That's it. In Africa, they call it the Nituru, which means the same exact thing. The gods that came from heaven to earth and turned mud into a kingdom. Now, the civilization they built is the Atlantean civilization.
So this is where we hear about Atlantis, the mythology of Atlantis.
Right.
Got it. Okay.
They built the Atlantean civilization.
And where's the evidence for this? Where do you read about that?
Well, if you look in the text, a lot of the Indian texts, the Vedas, the Mahabharata, the Bhagavad Gita, the ancient lore of the indigenous aboriginals, the Terra Papers, the Enuma Elish, the Epic of Atrahasis, the Code of Hammurabi, the Myth of Etana. There's so many tablets. I can just keep going down.
Everybody's referencing the Atlantean civilization.
Yeah.
Obviously, the most popular one was it Plato's uncle or something like that?
Plato. Plato wrote about that.
Oh, he did?
Yes, he did. Yes,
okay. Got it.
And so, you start looking at this information. That was more recent. I mean, when I say recent, it's not as ancient. But the account of Plato's account of Atlantis is not that ancient. But we're talking about the ring city, but that was just one capital. So that ring city that was being described is one capital of dozens that existed on Earth at the same time.
Do we know where these other ones might be? Is there any remnants?
They were on every continent, every single continent. We're standing on Atlantis right now. We're sitting right on top of Atlantis.
It was New York.
Yes, everyone on this planet is on top of Atlantis. So when you start to look at the Americas, you discover that there were so many pyramids in the Americas. There were literally thousands of them. What happened to them? The Catholic Church blew up the tops of these pyramids and built churches on top of them.
No.
Really?
Yeah.
Come on, bro.
Mark,
bro.
Yeah. Hold on.
I was raised Catholic. They never told us that.
No, they won't tell you that.
Give me a zip.
They didn't tell you
It's time to get going.
They didn't tell you guys a lot of stuff.
Hold on. So break this down.
Right.
There were pyramids everywhere.
Yeah.
How do the Catholics find out about it? Are they reading the ancient texts?
Oh, no. They just know we got to eradicate this civilization science because we want to impose our will on the people. See, the Catholic Church went through something called the Inquisitions.
Yes.
It was the papal Inquisitions where they went around the planet and they killed and tortured and murdered 80 million people to convert them into Christianity. And
got it.
So it wasn't spread like they tell you in church, the gospel means the good news. It was really bad news when these people showed up. It would be like America showing up to your country and you have oil buried in the ground.
Really?
It's bad.
Wow. So they were like giving women fucking rights and shit. Let them read. Ridiculous. Absurd.
They have.
What the fuck is wrong with these people, man?
If you go to the museum in Rome,
Yeah.
you'll find they still have the torture tools there in the museum. They're proud of them. They have the Pope's spear. The Pope's, spear, which went up in a woman's vagina.
I saw that one.
Pop them open from the inside.
Good
They had a spire
gracious.
that they would lower a man down onto the spire through his butthole over and over again, up and down until he died.
Damn, no Diddy, bro.
For real. They just had all these torture mechanisms.
Yeah.
What they would do is get the leader, the king, the chief, the guy who does all the sage and all that stuff.
Yeah.
The medicine man.
Yeah.
And then they would say, look, we need to convert everyone into this. And if you don't, then we're going to kill you.
You're going to fuck you from the inside out.
Yeah, exactly.
Damn.
So they would make everyone.
Who would do the fucking? Because I feel like that would be against Catholicism.
It would be one of these people from their church system and say, hey,
So there was
my
a
job.
fucker. There was a
Yeah.
guy who would
There
have
was a
to-
guy, he'd connect you and get you lined up perfectly
Yeah.
and, and do that. Sick people. But when you
Do what you gotta do. All right?
it's wild.
You gotta do what you gotta do. You gotta spread the gospel.
You gotta
Yeah.
spread the gospel.
Yeah, spread the gospel.
It is the good word.
Under the order of Rome.
Yeah.
And, but the big thing Rome said was, look, we got to get this money.
Yeah.
So what we're going to do is we're going to convert our pagan system into a Christian system. We're going to combine the two together. That's why we have all these fake holidays that are all pagan holidays
Yeah.
in Christianity.
That's my man Constantine, right?
Yeah, Constantine. They just combined it all together. Now we got the taxes and we got the offerings.
Yeah.
We got both. And now we got the people unified. And now we can put our boot on everybody's neck. And so once they reeled up the leader of that village or that town and killed him like that, and everyone saw it, it was like, okay, I'm ready to learn now. Teach me your language. Talk to me about your God. By the second, third generation, you're born, you're given a name, a race, and a religion, and you don't even know who you are.
Wow. So do you know which church in America or which churches are on old pyramids?
Oh, no, you just have to go and just go out there. See, anything on, most of the older ones that are on hills with the triptych windows. The triptych windows are the same windows that mimic the three windows that you see in a lot of the pyramids, like in Chichen Itza, Yucatan Peninsula, and all of that. Those older ones, if you go to Mexico City, how I learned this, I went to Mexico City. I got a homegrown archaeologist. He started showing me all the hills and all the old churches. He said those were all pyramids.
So it's wild. Like when you go to the Mexico City pyramids specifically,
Yeah.
they show you what it looked like before and what it looked like after. You can never look at a hill again
Right.
and not think it's a pyramid
Right.
after you go see it.
Facts.
It's so if go look at it,
Are you
you
talking
can
about
see
these?
not Chichen Itza.
Yeah, that's the triptych, yes.
Ah, wow,
At the
wow.
top of all Catholic churches, the older ones, they all have that triptych design. And most of the ones that are old in the 1800s built on those hills were
Go to the
pyramids.
Mexico City pyramids and do it before excavation. Because what happens is grass just starts to grow on them.
Yes.
So they just start to look like terrain.
Hell
Yeah.
And,
hills.
Yeah, they just
big
look like
ass
hills. and people have all these like explanations for it. Like my tour guide, yeah, look at that. So like
Wow.
if you just saw that, like that black
Yeah.
and white picture to the right there, yeah.
Yeah.
Tell me that you would never look at that and assume pyramid.
Right.
Yeah. Wow.
Right.
Wow.
So now I have to look at every fucking hill and go,
Yeah.
should we dig this thing up and see? And
right.
some of them are just hills,
Yeah. Some are just hills, but some are these.
right? Got it.
So when the Anunnaki came to Earth, were there already Homo sapiens here?
Yes. Good question. There were already not Homo sapiens, but hominids.
no, there weren't.
Our cousins.
Bad question.
Come on, bro.
They were Homo erectus. They were our cousins.
Yeah, they were.
But I believe that they were more intelligent than us spiritually.
So
Not
is it
technologically.
fair to say that the aliens were the first ones to smash monkeys?
No, they didn't do the monkeys. We were
They had to, right?
because when we were here, they didn't call us apes. They called us beings.
Yeah.
And in the Epic of Atrahasis, there was this big war getting ready to happen. And Enki and Lil and Anu were in this place in South Africa called Adam's Calendar, where they found the very first gold mines that human beings were working underneath their boot. Anyway, so the Ijiji, who were the working class Anunnaki, came from Mars to Earth to go to war against them because they felt like they were being enslaved, even though they weren't supposed to be enslaved. They were just working class people. They felt like they were doing too much labor. For 250,000 years, they were working.
Whoa.
And they came to Earth and they encircled the campus and they said, we're going to go to war. And it was like, well, why? And they were like, well, we've been asking you for relief. The workload is too heavy and we don't have any women. So
That's a big issue.
they were complaining about no women, literally in the ancient tablets. And so Enki says,
they need a king of diamonds, bro.
What were they saying? What were they saying? in the
Enki
ancient
says,
tablets?
I have an idea. Because they had kind of discussed in a weird way fashioning people. That means like robotics.
Okay.
But they had talked about their home planet. When they tried that, it failed. So that's a clue as to what AI and robotics can do to a planet. They were like, there's an existing being here, though, that we can add our essence to, talking about genetic modification, and get them to bear your load.
So don't make robots, make people that can
Right.
do your work for you.
Exactly.
Whoa.
Yes.
Wow.
So they started with that method first.
So they're just forcing human beings to do their work for them.
Yes.
That's crazy.
And that's how
Who
they
would do
bring them the offerings.
Yeah.
When you bring the offerings,
Yeah.
your best harvest and your fresh calves, that's their meat. That's their food.
This is what you see in the biblical text.
They're eating. That's their meals. They're not going to go out and hunt. I mean, this archaeologist was talking to me in Egypt in 2014 and was just laughing. He was showing me one of the altars. He said these people were so dumb. He just said his own people. He says they would line up in ancient times for miles to bring their best offerings to the head god. Wow. And the god was just putting him all this food in the storehouses. And he showed me where the storehouses were inside these temples. They would put these things in there. Then they had these other areas underneath the temple where other priests would go underneath and speak, and it would resonate their voice. And it would be the voice of God talking. And it was all this, nothing but a sham to get them to bring all this food and gold and offerings and everything else.
I mean, I do believe that, because if you go to Chichen Itza, you can have the limestone creates this like a vibration effect, and you can have like a conversation, like me and you can talk to one another across a football field.
Yes,
like this.
Oh, wow. Yeah, the sound bounces. Phew,
it's crazy.
Comes right back at you.
Yeah. So if they were using that as some sort of a technological advantage, like some Wizard of Oz shit.
Yeah.
Whoa. So were they literally eating it, or were they eating off like the energy of the sacrifice? Or
no, they were eating the food. They were barbecuing.
What about sacrificing? What about
they had a cookout?
They weren't barbecuing. There's the aliens.
Eating oxtail and
Frank's
shit.
Red Hot. Someone sacrifice some more hot sauce.
I mean, think about it. I mean, if you were the ruler of a planet,
Billy, I think you might be putting on what you would do in that situation. Is that possible?
That's what the Middle East best
I'm
food.
telling you, these people ate the food because I take tours to Egypt all the time. Last year, I took 140 people on a private tour.
Yeah.
And when I go, I take a homegrown Egyptologist and a homegrown guide with us. And he takes us to the temples where they actually have the, where they actually have the storehouses.
Getting hungry. Billy's getting hungry.
It's like that damn barbecue.
Hey, man. So, listen.
Okay, so go. So you're there. But they take you to all the different spots.
So we take you to the temples and we show you where they would hide the food, where they take all the offerings and where they would store it.
Yeah.
It was their grocery store, literally.
Wow. Tour announcement. We're 2 weekends away. Madison Square Garden, May 3rd and 4th. I'll see you all there. I cannot wait. Peace. Is Jesus part alien?
I believe so.
And was he part alien and trying to do good?
Yes, I believe so.
So he was breaking away. He was using his power. And he's like, yo, what these aliens are doing to us is fucked up.
Right.
We need to break free from that. And I'm going to liberate the people.
Yeah, so you have to understand. You're right on point. There's good and evil in
Jesus
everything.
is the man, bro.
Yeah, there's good and evil in everything.
We're all part alien at this point, right?
Absolutely. It's in our DNA.
Ah, fuck. I thought he was a little bit more.
Well, he was more. He was a little bit more, yes.
How was he a little bit more?
Well, if you look at the Apocrypha text, you discover that not only was Jesus' mom a virgin birth, but his grandmother was also a virgin birth. Nobody ever talks about that in church, and they hear about that in Sunday school.
Wait a minute. So his grandma, wow.
Yeah. So you see this establishment of this particular bloodline.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden he comes through the womb and then begins to regain all of his own memories, right? So he is a reincarnation of himself from a previous lifetime.
Oof.
That's why sometimes I hypothesize that he could be Thoth the Atlantean, who says that he could incarnate on and in any plane he desires. Could he have decided now to come back through the womb?
So Thoth the Atlantean was the king of the Atlantean Empire.
Yeah, he was one of them.
Or one of the leaders of the Atlantean Empire. He is
Yeah.
reincarnating inside Jesus.
Yeah.
And why has he chosen to help the people instead of enslave us like he did in the
Good
past?
question. When you look at the ancient text where Jesus gets all of his information from,
Yeah.
the Emerald Tablets of Thoth,
We need to talk about that on the
Right.
tablets, bro.
38,000-year-old text. In there, in the book that I wrote about it, I line up the Christian text and I line up Jesus's text from the New Testament.
This is going to seem really ignorant. People were writing shit down 36,000 years ago?
Thoth authored these tablets himself. He actually wrote, he didn't have a scribe. A lot of the times these God figures or these leaders would have scribes.
Right.
He actually wrote it down himself. He actually put it onto these tablets.
And what is he writing in? What language?
Well, it looked like the language was runes, R-U-N-E-S, okay? And in this text, he writes about coming to this planet after the Great Flood and seeing the temples of ancient Kemet sticking up out of the mud and actually going on a mission to help rebuild civilization. Not that it was for the first time, but he's rebuilding it to a high level.
So it was already built, destroyed. He's like, hey, let's run it back again.
Right. His father sends him on a mission. His father says, go to the land of Chem and do the plan that ye know of. So he gets his crew and he gets into the great ship of the master and he takes off until the planet disappears. This
Which
is an
is the
ancient text.
horizon.
Right, he's up in the sky.
Oh, he's coming from...
He's in a ship that goes up.
Gotcha.
Because you know this, because when he gets over the land of Chem, he goes, I see the land of Chem beneath us, and I see the temples rising up out of the mud that were flooded by the fountains.
Now we come back.
Now he comes down to the ground.
The fountains is the great flood.
Right.
Got it. Okay.
He opens the door, he comes out, and he calls these people barbarians coming to attack him, probably territorial.
Crazy.
And he says, I raised my staff and sent out a ray of vibration, stopping them still as fragments of stone of the mountain. So now he's got a stun gun that can freeze them in their tracks.
That's fire.
That's technology. Right? Now we have something.
So is the spaceship. But
But we have something right now in the military called the active denial system.
Which is?
It's the same
When
exact.
gays try to join?
No. I'd like to strike that from the record, Your Honor. No, it's a system that works just like what he described in ancient tablets, where it sends out a beam, a ray. Type in active denial system, put it up there. It sends out a beam at a crowd of people coming to attack, right? To riot or whatever. And it stops them in their tracks. It makes them feel like they're in pain, makes them feel like they want to vomit, put voices in their head.
Wow.
Whatever you want to do, you can program the frequency into their body to make it do that.
Is this what the people said they were experiencing in the...
Cuba?
Yeah, the base in...
Havana syndrome? Is
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Keep going. All right.
So
You're on it.
So then here's the key about the God thing. Him, not wanting to be one of these gods. When he released them from that, he started talking to the people peacefully, and they started groveling at his feet. And he said, no, get up. He said, I'm a son of Atlantis. He didn't say I'm God. And he said, I'm a son of Atlantis, and I'm here to bring you back up to a high level of civilization. And he worked with the people for a couple thousand years to rebuild that civilization. Before he left and he told all of his people that came there with him, spread out around the planet. This is how Atlantis advanced again. Spread out around the planet and duplicate what we did here.
And this is where you see similar stories
Correct.
across ancient texts around the world.
Correct.
And those similar stories are higher intelligence comes to us, bestows upon us this wisdom after the floods.
The Lakota tribe, the Hopi tribe, the Dogon tribe of Africa, the Aboriginals. I could keep going on and on and on. Matter of fact, the verbal handed down history of the Aboriginals, because I've been there before and hung out, went for a walkabout in the outback with the Aboriginals and went on a trail to go find Proto-Egyptian hieroglyphs, which we did stumble across and get them documented, that they were seated on this planet by Pleiadians.
Pleiadians
From the Pleiades.
Got you.
The same people that the Sumerians talk about, they call it Mo in the ancient texts. The ancient Egyptians revere it as well, the Pleiades. It's in every text, Homer's Iliad, the Bible, the Mahabharata, any text you go to, and most artifacts are going to have a depiction of the Pleiades or talk about the Pleiades.
And what's the depiction?
The stars, the 7 stars.
Oh, it's that star system.
Yeah. Subaru even has it on their logo for their car.
So it's a gay lesbian. It's a lesbian. It's a lesbian galaxy. Is that what's going on? Okay.
Shout out Subarus. We love y'all.
It's a constellation. It's a star system.
You had talked about Jesus, where he went from like 12 to like 32.
Yeah.
Can you explain Jesus' trajectory from 12 to 32 that we don't have in the Bible?
Yeah.
What does that mean?
So Jesus disappears from the Bible at the age of 12, right? He disappears, and where does he go? There's another text called the Gospel of the Holy 12. And in the Gospel of the Holy 12, which was omitted from the Bible, he goes to Egypt with his mother. Now, I've been there, and when I take people on tour, I take them to the place where he slept. It's still there. It's a crypt now. It's like a place to go there. You know where it's at, right?
It's inside a church, right?
Coptic Cairo, correct. Right inside that church. They converted it into a church. And he went there to study the Egyptian mysteries. He went there also to learn all about the ancient mystery schools. And then he left there and he went to Tibet to learn the mystic art. Tibet, he went to go learn, not mystic arts, but went to go learn spirituality.
He went to Tibet?
And mystic arts, yes, mystic arts. And then he went down into India, learned about reincarnation and all of that. And then he came back down and he reappears in the biblical text when God says in the Bible, I called my son out of Egypt.
What an episode for Akash to miss. I mean, we don't tell him any of this. By the way. The ego that he will have finding out that Jesus learned everything from India.
Yeah.
Oh, we can't tell him. Okay, keep going. Okay, so
He learned
learns
Reiki
all
healing in Tibet and, energy healing with his hands. The mystic arts, I have to correct myself. The mystic arts he learned in India.
Got it.
and then coming back down, teaching reincarnation all the way back.
And how do we know that he went out there to India?
Well, the records have been kept. There's complete records. And even the Dalai Lama confirmed that he was in Tibet at one time.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
How do they keep reincarnation out of the Bible?
Well, the Bible is about reincarnation, but they doctored it up to make you think that it's not about reincarnation. But when you even look into the book of Revelations, it says you're going to get a new name and a new body. It didn't say you was going to be a spirit with energy. It said you're going to get a new name and a new body, a physical body, and that you're going to live inside of that body. And so you're going to come back and be born again. You know? And the biblical text where people are getting confused about this born again, like in the spirit thing, it's really born again in consciousness. You know, getting dipped into a bucket of water and all of that's a waste of time. Somebody dumping you in a pool and all that, you just get wet. Dumping babies and splashing the babies. It's a waste of money, a waste of time.
So what you're saying is that's just a metaphor for this conscious rebirth that happens.
Conscious rebirth. What we can do, we can have a rebirth right now. Right now, if we decide to look at ourselves and think about things that we were doing wrong, maybe in our lives right now, things that could be better with ourselves, and we begin to work on ourselves, and we go back and have a meeting again in 2 weeks and say, what have we individually worked on within ourselves to become a better person?
That's spiritual rebirth.
That is rebirth. We had just now been born again in the spirit. And you can be born again many times in one lifetime.
Okay. You said that they had doctored the Bible. What's the earliest version of the Bible that exists?
One of the earliest versions is the Ethiopian Bible and the Sinai Bible.
Okay, so Ethiopian Bible. That's fire. There's this great clip. I don't know if you've seen. It's on one of these fucking Ivy League campuses.
Yeah.
And there's these white kids talking about how it is a form of white colonization teaching Christianity, and there's an African student there who's like, Christianity was in Africa before it was in Europe. And then the white girls are just like, they have no clue what to say. So this does, I imagine, speak to that, right?
Yeah.
So who was it that went to the Ethiopia? Which tribe ended up going there? Because I think there's a Jewish...
Oh, you're talking about
Isaac? Was it that he went down there? One of the 12...
one of the 12 tribes. Moses went down there.
No, I think
Moses went down there and met his wife, and she was a woman of Cush. So the Cushite people ended up in Ethiopia.
Oh, okay. I thought there was one of his. I thought it was one of the 12 went there, but I could be wrong.
Maybe it's possible.
Matthew?
It's possible.
So it's a city called Mermena, supposedly in Ethiopia, describing as a land that was inhabited by tribes of cannibals. After departing from Jerusalem, and the Holy Apostle Matthew preached the glad tidings of the gospel. And that's why you see a Jewish faction there as well.
Yeah.
Okay, so the earliest version of the Bible, or one of the earliest, is in Ethiopia. What are the differences between that Bible and, let's say, the King James?
Okay, there are a couple of things. The first, the Old Testament is the Torah from the Ethiopian Torah.
Wait, the oldest Torah we have is also Ethiopian?
Yeah.
Dude, black people hold me down, bro.
They still
really
hold
me.
The original Jews.
Yo, I gotta go to Brooklyn and apologize to people. They was right the whole time.
Yeah, come on.
Okay.
Kyrie Irving was right the whole time.
Okay.
Actually. I did a whole mini documentary on this.
Really?
With full research.
Okay, I want to get to all of that, but take us there. Okay, so oldest version of Old Testament, Ethiopia. Oldest version of New Testament, either Sinai or Ethiopia. Right. What are the differences we see in these and then the newer versions of the text?
Well, what's interesting is the text, there's less mistranslations.
Less mistranslations, got it.
In the Ethiopian Bible and the Sinai Bible, there's about 12 to 14,000 differences than the more modernized King James Version.
And what are the differences?
Well, for example, Moses never crossed the Red Sea. He crossed the Sea of Reeds, which is a closer, much smaller and easier sea to cross.
Right.
As a matter of fact, if you talk to geologists, which like I did,
yeah,
you'll find if you do a geological rewind to go back in time with tectonic plate movements, a computer model will simulate that there was an actual tsunami in that area somewhere within that time frame, give or take 100 years or so. which would have easily wiped out that area, completely dried out the Sea of Reeds, and you can walk right across. Then the water would have come crashing back.
Wow.
But he never crossed the Red Sea. Also, another mistranslation is God. God is not supposed to be singular in the Bible. It's plural in all cases. Gods with an S.
Oh, Akash really can't see this.
We gotta keep this one. Bleep that.
We got multiple gods and reincarnations. He might be on to something.
So hold on. So, but you see that in certain languages, like God in Spanish is Dios, not Dio. So that
Exactly.
would be gods.
Yeah.
There's a plurality to it.
You know why?
But that is Father, Son, Holy Ghost, maybe?
No, they just copied it from the ancient texts and tablets.
Biting.
In the ancient texts and tablets, it's multiple gods. In the Bible, you have the gods are Enlil, and who's also known as Yahweh in the Bible.
Yeah.
And you also have Amen-Ra, the great Amen. He's, when you say the Lord's Prayer, that's Enki's prayer. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us our daily bread, blah, blah, blah. That's Ptah's prayer, who's also known as Enki. Enki.
In which religion?
In Christianity.
Enki is in Christianity.
No, he's ancient Sumerian.
That's okay. That's Sumerian. And who? And
he's an Anunnaki, so you're praying to him.
okay, who? I like don't want to go away. I want to learn about the Sumerians because I think that's really important to everything else you talk about. But I just want to learn some more about these differences in the Bible. Because this is always really fun. When you obviously with translation, you're going to find differences when people are explaining the meaning of certain things.
I'll give you one big translation that's off. Is they say, well, Jesus was crucified.
Whoa.
Well, that doesn't exist in the Sinai Bible.
What happened?
It doesn't exist in the book of Barnabas. He didn't.
It's a fire name, Barnabas.
I know. Didn't. But they left that out of the Bible on purpose, by accident.
So how did they kill him?
They didn't kill him. In Harvard Library, there is a book of Jesus' wife at the Harvard Seminary School, and they found that about 8 years ago.
Jesus' wife is the Mary Magdalene.
Yeah.
So she was not actually.
They're assuming it's Mary Magdalene. It doesn't specifically say, but we're assumed that it is, which means he probably had kids, and his Merovingian bloodline is still probably walking the land till this very day. Wow. Yeah.
That's in what was that great book, the Dan Brown book, the Da Vinci Code.
Da Vinci Code, yeah.
Yes.
So
there's probably someone related to Jesus right now.
Right.
Kanye.
Stop it. It might be Ryan Garcia. The miracle workers. It's always the miracle workers, isn't it?
So it's interesting that's a mistranslation. Another one, actually, interestingly enough,
this is fun.
The word for virgin was mistranslated from Aramaic into Greek. So the word originally meant, I think it was laga, which means young woman. By the time it got to Greek, it was translated wrongly into virgin, which then made it into the biggest part of the story of Jesus, which is that his mother was
So she might
virgin.
not have been a virgin.
It's possible. But when I saw what convinced me, that's why I looked deeper. That's how I found out about the grandmother. I said it might be true. But they still use that mistranslated word for that. Maybe they didn't have another word to use. But that's a big mistake. Because there's certain parts of the Bible where they use that same word to describe women as being virgins, and they tell men that you have the right to rape them.
Jesus.
That's in the book of Deuteronomy.
Who wrote that one?
God said this in the book of Deuteronomy. He says...
Is this Old Testament Deuteronomy?
That's Old Testament, yeah.
Wow.
Towards the end of the Old Testament, he says, if you see a woman walking through a field and you want her, you can rape her. Exact words used, by the way. And it says, if after you rape her, you decide you want to keep her, you can make her your wife.
Wow.
So that's God. See, here we go.
Yeah.
The creator of the universe, of the multiverse, that can think planets into existence, that can speak, things into reality.
Is R. Kelly.
It's gonna, exactly. It's gonna say, you know what?
I believe I can fly.
Why don't you guys?
He did have great lyrics.
Bars is bars, bro. Wow.
Oh, this is great.
So Deuteronomy is a wild book,
listen, Deuteronomy is so bad, and this is where, you go, wait a minute. This is really not the creator of the universe.
Yeah.
God says, there's a person in a town far away. Who speaks ill of me. Go there and get over the town walls, kill the women, kill the children, kill infants and bring the spoils of war back to me. Now,
Whoa.
What kind of God needs spoils of war?
You're God. You got everything.
Yeah, just look up evil Bible. Google evil Bible and go to the book of Deuteronomy.
So who do you think wrote this?
These are these Anunnaki people. See, they were these Atlantean leaders.
Yes.
It got to the point where they became greedy and they became self-made gods. And they really believed it. They were battling each other
Like
over
the pharaohs
resources.
of Egypt in a way?
Yeah.
Gotcha. You're drunk
battling
off
over
power.
resources and people. Wow. Battling and, literally like fighting over who's controlling who. And how we all got to be different races.
Yeah.
That goes back to...
How did that happen?
Yeah, that goes back to the Tower of Babel incident in the Bible, which comes out of the Sumerian tablets.
Okay, explain what ancient Sumeria is real quick, because we keep referencing
Okay,
it, and I also want to understand.
Well, this ancient Sumeria is a location right now would be Iraq.
Right.
All right, and Iraq, which at that time was extended part of what Africa actually is, believe it or not. But it was a multicultural location.
Got it.
The people there were advanced beyond belief. They had achieved a high level of advanced construction, waterways, irrigation, mathematics.
Is this
you name it.
Tigris and Euphrates?
Between the Tigris and the Euphrates, where the Garden of Eden is located.
Got it. Okay.
Okay.
And this makes sense because I
Yeah.
imagine like the Tigris and Euphrates would overflow and
Right.
there would be this great fresh water that would spill onto the land,
Yeah.
and then they would have tons of fruits and vegetables that
Right.
would grow quite seamlessly. In a similar way to like the Nile, people spoke of what happened to like the Nile Valley region where
Right.
it was just very fruitful, right?
Right, very fruitful.
Okay, so you have lots of food. When humans have lots of food and an ability potentially to protect themselves, society can grow. So
Yeah.
this is the idea.
Right.
Okay, so Sumeria, this is a culture that is influenced by the Atlanteans, or this is just human.
Heavily influenced by Atlanteans.
Okay, so the Atlanteans are ruling it, or
They built a base there, and Enlil is the one who built the base, Yahweh from the biblical text. He built a base there, and he said, I'm going to create a design for cities that will last for all time on this planet.
And is this the first city that is
One
erected?
of the most advanced cities. It's got street grids. It has a town center. It has plumbing. All of that exists at this time.
And this is how long ago?
This is about roughly 8,000 years ago, according to mainstream. But if you go to the real, understand that these tablets are copied tablets from even more ancient tablets. We could be talking 40, 50, 100, 200,000 years ago.
Whoa.
Even deeper than that. And some geologists have gone to look at the weather patterns of the destruction of some of these areas, and realize that we're talking maybe even almost 2 ice ages ago. So this is really old stuff. And so these people were extremely intelligent, but they were influenced by these Anunnaki Atlantean people who gave them the knowledge and taught them how to build and taught them how to do all of this. And at the Tower of Babel, Yahweh, who is known as Enlil, he helps them to erect this. Well, he builds his own tower first, called the Duran Key, which means bond heaven earth. And then the humans, when he leaves to go somewhere, the humans build a similar structure. When he comes back, I guess it's probably months or years later, he sees that this thing is being built by humans, mimicking what their advanced culture had built. And he says, oh man, whatever their hearts desire, they will achieve it, which that made it into the Bible. And so he destroys the tower, just like it says in the Bible. And then he says, my seed shall not abide in man forever. His years shall be 120. That also made it into the biblical text. So you see where it's getting copied from. Older ancient texts. The Bible was written from 100 AD to 900 AD. This text is thousands of years prior. And so he then decides to confuse the languages and move people around to different regions of the planet so that we couldn't collaborate.
Because if we can't collaborate, we can do all the things that they can do.
Exactly.
And we can challenge their power.
Exactly. This is where the genetic modification came in. That 120 statement is powerful because at Harvard University, they just discovered that the lifespan of a human being maxes out at about 120 years.
Yeah.
Right? And that's under the most pristine conditions, no poison.
That's
blah, blah,
organ
blah.
failure and all
Right.
these other things. Not counting cancer,
Right.
these outside sources.
Exactly.
But how long can your organs really live for? Yeah.
So that's where the genetic, now the scientists said, look, chromosome number 2, something happened to humans. It was taken out and fused together, right? Instead of having 48, we got 46. Why is that? Fused together, 2 telomere caps put on the end, limiting our lifespan. So we know that there was a genetic mutation around the same time. They're saying 200,000 years ago, the same time the tablets are roughly estimated to be written originally about this Tower of Babel incident. So it's like ancient text and modern science is almost collaborating with each other. And you're saying, man, what? Wait a minute. So the geneticist said it's an artificial mutation. We said, well, who did it? They said, we don't know how it's done. They said through natural evolution, it would have taken millions and millions of years to happen.
But it was expedited.
Expedited. Now,
Because the Anunnaki did it.
How do we guess? They did. How do we get the races now? Me and you aren't dark because our cousins were working in the sun. Don't believe that. It's foolishness. Okay. You're not light skinned because your uncles and aunts were working on top of a mountain in Russia.
Yeah.
No. What they discovered was between races, there's a 2% variance in DNA and genes.
Yeah.
2% would take multi-millions of years through natural evolution. Didn't take that long. It only took 200,000 years. So what's going on here?
Oh, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
We're branded.
Yeah. Well,
Oh.
that's kind of interesting because if humans didn't leave the African continent until how many 100,000 of years ago?
Yeah.
You're saying that we left prior to the amount of time necessary in
Right.
order for us to naturally evolve to have these different colors,
Correct.
dick sizes or whatever. So yeah, why did your guys' God love big dicks so much? Yeah, what is up with that?
I don't know.
Yeah, what is
I don't
that
know.
about?
When you go to Egypt, that's like, in the museum, you see a lot of statues with big penises. All
What is up?
You notice how we didn't look into that, huh?
Just
Yeah, why didn't you look into that?
Mr. Carson heard that. He's like,
oh,
yeah, we don't have to check that
We
one
don't
out.
check
Yeah.
that. No,
But
Diddy.
yeah, can you explain that?
no Diddy, no
Because
Diddy.
my God.
And then you see statue of David, and he got a little strippy on there. It's like,
Yeah,
yo,
what-
something-
for real? Okay,
something's up.
so and then Asians, where the fuck do they come from? That's just crazy.
Yeah, I know. So
Because they're the most different.
yeah, they're really different. But here's what
They are.
I can say that because my wife is Asian.
Yeah. So tell me, what's the deal?
Here's the thing. So
Anunnaki?
when you look at the Anunnaki and you discover that they were multiracial people, they all look different. The crew that Thoth took to Chem with him, they were all different looking people. Even one of the person had married a woman from another planet, according to these texts, not according to me. When he said, go around the planet and duplicate what we did here.
Yeah.
So now you and I were already in Africa, right? You go to Europe, you go over to Mesoamerica, and you are ruling over people. Now, what does a farmer do right now if they have cows? They brand the cow. So in case my cow wanders off, that's Farmer Jim's cow. We got to get it back to him.
So everybody made their people look like them.
That's
So
right.
they knew these are our property.
Let us make man in our image.
Whoa.
I believe my hypothesis is that we are genetically branded people for the people that we were ruled over by.
Whoa. So what color do we all start as?
No one knows. When you talk about these Anunnaki texts, it describes them. There's only one reference in the Sumerian tablets that references the people that took the brunt of a bomb that got dropped in ancient times. And they call them the black-faced people. And it said that the evil wind took them over and their hair fell out and their nails fell off and their eyes were bleeding. It's like radiation sickness. That's the only reference we actually have of the way anybody really looked, other than the hair. They talk about hair in the Epic of Gilgamesh. They talk about locks, but does that mean locks like you just have long hair, or does it mean dreadlocks? We don't really know. But it's interesting.
Also, white people get dreadlocks too.
Yeah, it's true. So it's interesting. So, so you don't know. We don't really anybody who's making hard factual statements like that,
Lying.
they're just making it up.
Really?
So what about Blake Griffin? Who branded him?
Yeah.
Yeah, what
What do we do when we start mixing and matching? Like, what's going on there?
Yeah,
Was that bad or is that good?
No.
Yeah, what would God say about that?
In the Garden of Eden, it was actually Edin, right? And Enlil, he was known as Yahweh. He was the Lord. He was known as Satan, the Lord of Eden. Satan, the Lord of Eden, and Eden was an outside laboratory. And in this laboratory, when you read these texts, even some of the apocryphal texts, like the Book of Adam, which was left out of the Bible, you discover that this was a mating ground. So they would start. So what happened first was they began with genetically modified people that were almost like clones. And the information on the cloning technique is at the Temple of Karnak in Africa, in Egypt, where I take people. And also there's more evidence or talk about it at the Temple of Dendera And there's one more temple that has the birthing center. I think it's the Temple of Isis. And so they were making these people, but they couldn't make them fast enough. And these people couldn't have sex and reproduce on their own.
So
Then they got very frustrated. So Isis says, okay, I have an idea. I'm going to take the egg out of one of the beings and put it in my womb and take it to term. So it says in the text that they literally mixed their genetics with this egg, put it in her womb. So that's now making what we call a zygote in modern technology terms, right? In vitro fertilization, puts it in her womb, takes it to term for 10 months, and then gives birth to the Adamu, which means first man. And there's a cylinder scroll in the British Museum where she's holding up the baby, says, my hands have made it, the first man, Adamu. So that's where we get the first genetically perfected Homo sapien.
So before that, they were all.
They were Homo something, but they weren't like us. They couldn't reproduce. Like if you take a tiger and a lion and mate them, it'll have a ligand, but the ligand can't reproduce.
Right.
Right? So that's the situation. That's what we had going on.
This is so fun. This is so much fun.
It's like
It's so much more fun to listen to you and just believe everything. I'm telling you, it is. I know there's people that listen right now like, oh, this is bullshit. Just get away from that and just enjoy today. Just enjoy.
I want them to research what I'm saying.
Yeah.
They can rewind and write this stuff down or type it in their phone and start learning.
Yeah.
I want people to research what I say. Don't believe what I say, research what I say.
Yeah.
So what happens is, and we take people to these cloning centers when we take them to Africa on tour. Our tour we take every single year. Next one is coming up in October. And so the point I'm trying to make is, so we have the cloning center. The clones couldn't reproduce enough. And a lot of work was going into making these people. So they came up with Adam. This starts the generations of Isis, the generations of Isis, the Genesis, the Genesis.
Ooh. And Genesis is obviously the first book of the Old Testament.
Yes.
doing the math right now.
He really is. He's doing the math. Whoa. So that's Adam.
Yes, Adam. Adam was then put into this Eden to mate with these other. They had mating times and schedules. You couldn't do it. You couldn't get back what you were talking about. You couldn't mate with somebody unless you were given a scheduled time to mate, or you get in trouble and punished. But no baby's coming. So they said, damn it. So let's go ahead and take some of his DNA, clone that, make a woman. So they made Eve. Then she got pregnant. Okay, this works. They were not the first humans on this planet. They were probably 1 million in at that point, okay? So people who think that 8 billion people that we have now on Earth came from 2 people have never studied genetics. Because if I start mating with my sister and so forth and so on, by the second generation, third generation, we're going to have a whole bunch of people with disabilities and one eye and arms broken and small legs and all kinds of stuff. You can't make 8 billion people, not enough genetic diversity.
Right.
So that's why they had the specific mating times and the people that you could mate with to make sure that they were not creating a small genetic pool. Once they figured that worked, they said, okay, let's isolate them in a certain part of the garden and begin to do this experiment with them. So Adam had Cain and Abel, and Yahweh came back to check on his offerings one day. And, one was bringing him the harvest, one was bringing him the lamb, and one got jealous because he kept taking the harvest. And he's like, you know what, I'm pissed off, I'm gonna kill my brother, right? So Cain kills Abel, and God comes back like he doesn't know this. He's supposed to be all-knowing and omnipotent, but he doesn't know that this happened. He's shocked that this happens. And he says, I got to kick you out of the garden. And so Cain says in the Bible, he says, the people out there will kill me. Wait, what people?
I thought there's no people.
I thought there was no people out there. There's people out there already. Matter of fact, they might be barbaric. So he says, don't worry, I will put my mark on you. See, that's the brand. Put my brand on you. So he said, so that they will know your minds. So he put a brand on and let people know, hey, no, that's Enlil's guy. Don't mess with him. Exactly. That started the whole Canaanites. You see? That's where the Canaanites came out and built the whole thing and eventually migrated over to Mesoamerica. So we're talking about, it's a big story, man. It's a really, really big story. But you can see where there's so much misinformation and
So Jesus, good guy or bad guy?
I believe it was a good guy. I think some of his words were twisted in the New Testament.
Yeah.
He never said, I don't believe he would say anything about slavery. If you really look at the words of Jesus, what he's teaching, it comes from Thoth the Atlantean. So either he is Thoth the Atlantean or he was taught by Thoth the Atlantean, or he studied in the mystery schools to get that same knowledge.
Right.
Because I line up the verses in my book, Compendium of the Emerald Tablets. I line up the words side by side so you can see what Jesus is saying was already said thousands of years prior.
Right.
He's teaching the ancient mysteries, and he's trying to get mankind to enlighten himself through consciousness.
But though the Atlantean was doing it to subjugate the human species.
No, he was helping. He was helping. He went around the planet helping everyone.
Oh, so he was helping.
Yeah, he was helping.
So this is after, so Thoth is after whoever created us and was subjugating us.
Yeah. He's a son of Ea Enki. So he's a son of one of these rulers.
But he broke free from this tradition of enslaving humanity?
He just wanted to help. He would go and he would teach. Him and his father would go and teach humans. His father would send him on secret missions to like raise vibration, raise energy.
Why did they want to help out? What was that about?
Well, Enki liked human women.
Oh, really?
So did Thoth.
So it was that, it's that
Thoth married
simple.
Maat.
Really?
And he built the Pyramid of the Moon at Teotihuacan as a dedication to her.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And what happened to all these people?
Firebox.
What happened to all the Anunnaki and Thoth and all them?
They had 2 wars. The first Pyramid War almost eradicated them, but they started over again. The second Pyramid War, bad. That one almost decimated the planet. You see how when you look at Earth, like from Google Earth, you see a lot of those big deserts going across. People say, oh, that's just natural geological formations over time. This has become an arid desert. No, that's war. If you go to Egypt and stick your hand deep in the sands, eventually you're going to come up with balls of glass. How can you get glass and sand? 3,000 plus degree temperatures. You go to Mohenjo-Daro in the Indus Valley. What are you going to see there? Dead bodies still in the streets from thousands of years ago, still holding hands, never been scavenged. The buildings that they lived in turned to glass. How can that be? We're talking about 3,000 plus degree temperature weapons fire. We're talking about this war that happened in the ancient past. Amun-Ra wanted to continue he started the first war to take over the earth early because he didn't want to wait for his processional period to rule. And then this is the guy who says, you must say amen after everything. Say amen. Everything you give thanks for, you're saying amen to him. So when you say amen, you're thanking him, by the way. A brutal killing guy. But anyway, so he says, it's a fact. So he started one war to take over early, which he won.
Yeah.
He then started a second war to stay in power. And in that second war, he escaped. He was almost killed. But he left his kingship and the finances of the kingdom to the Ra-Kam. And R-A-K-A-M. But that translates into modern words. Kam translates into childs. So now you translate Ra, childs, Ra, child.
Oh!
Shit.
Yeah.
Got him!
Yeah.
I think he was going to rock him.
family-
Yeah.
God MC right there.
Right. Hold on. Rothschild. So the Rakim ends up being the Rothschild banking dynasty.
Yeah, $700 trillion dynasty. Wow. Still running the planet till this day.
Are they really?
Oh yeah, they run all the banks, all the central banking systems.
Oh,
globally.
This is awesome. Let's go. Let's go. It's like my YouTube wormhole live. Okay. So Rakim ends up being the Rothschild banking dynasty.
Yeah.
But didn't the Rothschild banking dynasty start in like Austria or something in modern times? Like, how do you jump? How do we jump?
When you have these kind of people that you put in positions of power and they continue to fund and help each other, they always find a way to get back to where they want to be because there's only one recipe. And once you understand and know the recipe, you can start from zero and get it all back.
And what is the recipe?
Well, it's a recipe to building any kind of level of success. I had a business that I built into a very big business and I lost everything a long time ago. I was homeless. I was sleeping in my car, okay, on the beach in North Miami or Aventura. And somebody lent me $30. I put $10 in my gas tank and the other $20 I converted to quarters. This is in the 90s. I got the yellow pages out and I started cold calling businesses I was a marketing company, getting new accounts. I got me some new accounts. I built my business back up. I got off the street, got a new car, got a new house, became a multimillionaire again. So the recipe, understanding what it takes to be successful, once it's ingrained in you, it never changes. I don't care what business it is. They could be selling cow chips from Wisconsin, you'll be a billionaire. And so they understood that it was in their DNA.
Can you tell us what that is? We want to learn about it.
I teach classes on this.
Give us a little tidbit. Give us a little.
Well, one thing you have to know, obviously, if you have to be passionate about what you're doing.
Yeah.
See, they're passionate about putting their boot on people's necks and ruling.
Oh, really?
They're passionate. I remember one of the Rothschilds, I can't remember which which one it was. I don't know if it was Evelyn or the other one. He says, we have the right to rule over people. Exact statement.
Yeah.
They believe that they have the right to rule over us and to oversee us. They believe that's their genetic lineage. So if you're passionate about something, you're going to do it to its highest level, and it's never going to feel like you worked a day in your life. So the trick to becoming successful is to find your passion
And then lean in.
and then find a need for that passion in the world. Once you find a need for the passion in the world, then you supply that passion to the person or company that needs it. Now that energy exchange puts money in your bank account. So you never chase the money. I never focus on how much money I can make. I was focused on following my passion and providing that passion to the world. Money is just a side effect of the energy exchange. That's the recipe.
And then these central banks that the Rothschilds have created.
Yeah.
Is there any benefit to them? Like, is it nice to have a central bank? Like, if you were to make the argument for them, what would you say?
Well, listen, anyone who can make trillions of dollars off of money that doesn't exist,
It's pretty good.
pretty good damn deal.
Yeah.
I just punch a couple of zeros and ones into a computer, and then all of a sudden it turns into trillions of dollars of money that backed by absolute nothing but consciousness attribution. If we had $1 billion in this room right now, and it was -30, and we had to sleep here overnight, knowing that we're going to get pulmonary edema from breathing in cold air, we'd burn it. Because now the value of the money is only heat to keep us alive for one more day. Money is just what we consciously attribute to it.
So how have they convinced us that we should consciously attribute value to this money?
Goes back to the Sumerian tablets. You go back, you discover where the whole thing was implemented, where these Anunnaki gods put this monetary system in place thousands of years ago.
Yeah.
And they said, okay, if you, we're going to have to really monetize this system that we're creating. So you have lambs, you have apple orchards. You bring 2 satchels of apples, that's a value of 1 lamb.
Right.
If when you get to him, he doesn't have a lamb, he's going to give you an IOU. And we have millions of IOUs in cuneiform.
Yeah.
We discovered them. So I go to him, the first time I get my lamb, I go home. The second time I come back, it's now offering time. He only has enough to give me a half a lamb. I got to give him 2 satchels of apples. I get a half a lamb and an IOU for another half. I come back a month later, man, there's a shortage on lambs now.
This is fractional reserve banking that you're describing.
I give you a leg and I give you a head.
So this is really a function, my understanding is this is a function of like the problem is really the weight of gold. Like at least when it entered like the true banking system in Europe. Like it's hard to just carry your gold around all the time.
Right.
So then if somebody has your gold, they can give you the IOUs for the gold. You can pay in those IOUs knowing full well there's gold in there. But if you start handing out more IOUs than there is gold, nobody's going to ask because we all believe the gold is there, but it's not really there. And that's kind of our banking system.
Exactly. Fiat.
Right now. And that's when people say, I think banks only need to have like 10% or 20% of the actual funds in the bank itself.
Correct. If we all went to the bank today and said, give me my money, the banking system would collapse because everyone would not get their money. It'd be impossible to get your money out.
Yeah, let's not do that.
No, that'd be a bad situation. That'd be a really bad day.
Yeah. And that's what people call, that's the run on the bank term, right? Right, when there's an economic collapse and everybody wants to go take their money out, and then the bank goes, "Hey, we're stopping withdrawals today because
it's like shorting a
too
stock."
much."
You know?
Yeah. All right, guys, let's take a break for a second. Listen, let's just face it, okay? After a night with drinks, we don't bounce back the next day like we used to. I'm 40 years old, okay? Even a night of responsible drinking after some shows can ruin the next day completely. But luckily, there is now a surefire way to wake up feeling fresh after a night of drinking, and it's with Z-Biotics. Z-Biotics is the world's first genetically engineered pre-alcohol probiotic, okay? Let me explain this here. When you drink alcohol, it gets converted into a toxic byproduct in your gut, okay? It's this byproduct, not the dehydration, which is what they tell you, that's to blame for your rough next day. Z-Biotics is a probiotic drink that produces an enzyme to break this byproduct down. So just remember to make Z-Biotics your first drink of the night. Drink responsibly, and you'll feel your best tomorrow. You have this in the tummy first. Then you have those responsible drinks. But the Z-Biotic is already cooking, is getting to work. It's producing that little enzyme. It's breaking down that gut byproduct that has been really causing you to have horrible mornings. Vacations, weddings, birthdays, and reunions, all these different occasions. What we're going to do, we're going to start out with the Z-Biotics. Simple as that. So go to zbiotics.com/flagrant to get 15% off your first order. When you use Flagrant at checkout, okay, Z-Biotics is back with 100% money-back guarantee. So if you're unsatisfied for any reason, they'll refund your money, no questions asked. Think about that. Think about that for a second. That's a lot of confidence that this is going to work. Remember to head to zbiotics.com/flagrant and use the code flagrant at checkout for 15% off. Thank you, Z-Biotics, for sponsoring this episode and our good times. Now let's get back to the show. All right, guys, we're going to take a break real quick so I can help you make the biggest no-brainer decision ever. If you're looking to have some nice alcoholic beverages in the comfort of your own home, have it delivered to you with DoorDash. Obviously, you use DoorDash to get food delivered to you. So just take the next logical step of having alcohol delivered to you as well. The alcohol selection on DoorDash is top shelf. Beer, wine, mixers, mocktails, and more can be delivered straight to your door. There are thousands of stores all over the country, so you're sure to find what you're looking for and more. And whether you want to have alcohol delivered to your own home or even send someone a nice bottle of something as a gift, using DoorDash is an absolute no-brainer. You didn't know this was possible. We're telling you it's possible. And on top of that, okay, on top of you getting your drinks in hand without lifting a finger with DoorDash, you're going to use the code FLAGRANT to get 25% off up to a $15 value when you spend $35 or more on drinks through DoorDash. For eligible users, only terms apply. Must be 21 or over to order alcohol. Obviously, drink responsibly. Delivery and promotions available only in select markets. Now let's get back to the show.
Can you talk to us about the pyramids? What are pyramids? Why do they show up in every culture? And what is the function of them?
And can I just say one thing?
Yeah, go ahead.
Because some people would say the pyramid is just the easiest physical structure to create at that size, right? Because if you create a building that just goes straight up, wind can rock it side by side and it goes. Right. Whereas a pyramid is just the most stable structure. So that would be like the what do you call like the mainstream thought? What is that? What do you refer to?
They're saying that it's no.
The
pharaohs are buried in there.
What do you call mainstream thinking in your discipline? Do you call it what is that?
You talking about
what is the term? No, the term that you would use for like what they teach in school. Well,
mainstream.
Okay,
mainstream.
So the mainstream thinking would be the boring one, the one that we didn't ask you to come on this show to talk about at all. So please do not say, "Oh, the physics works best for a pyramid." But they would just go, "Hey, when kids are building with blocks, they eventually realize if they build it too tall, it falls down. So let's build in this way, and then that creates a pyramid." But I'm sure you have something way more interesting.
Work. So I'll go into the structure of the pyramid and constructing, and I'll go into why. So what's interesting is the pyramids.
Is there any time where you're reading this and like you see an explanation that makes a little bit more sense, and you're just like, "Oh, that shit sucks"?
No, I look into everything. See, what I do is I research everything, and sometimes over time, some of my theories evolve.
Good.
And I think that's a true sign of someone who's really seeking real knowledge.
Yeah, but don't evolve them too boring.
Versus somebody who who's just into dogma. Because once I get so hard set into my own theories and I'm not willing to take any new input, now I'm just a preacher at a church.
Facts.
Literally, I'm just pitching dogma at that point.
Yeah. So today, it's church. I just want to let you know. This is church, and you can preach all you want. Yeah.
So. Well,
Billy getting loose. We might need some tequila.
Reverend Carson.
Do you drink at all?
I don't drink, no.
Okay, nothing. Weed?
I don't smoke either.
Nothing?
Yeah, nothing. Yeah.
Really? What about DMT?
Just water.
Or mushrooms?
I just do water.
Water.
So because
water and coffee.
I'm sure you've heard of the profound effects of
a lot of great effects.
Psychedelics.
A lot of people have helped a lot of people. I have nothing against it.
I'm talking on the ancients.
Oh yeah, listen, I talk about it in my podcast. It's real ancient stuff, but it will rewire your brain. And so once I read that, because I research everything before I do anything, I realized, well, I like the way my brain is structured right now.
So you don't want to rewire.
If there's any slight risk that I could lose my memory system, it scares me.
Yeah, that's reasonable.
Because my memory system is really good. Like my ability, my recall capability.
Yeah, your attention is on point. Yeah.
So I'm like, what if I do this and I lose that because it rewires? Not that I'm afraid to do it. I don't want to lose my file cabinet.
Got it.
That's really all it is.
Okay,
Have you always been like that? I'm just curious.
Yeah.
Like since you were a child?
Since I was a child, I started reading at 1 year. I was reading at 10 months child books, but by 1 I was reading real books.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I read my first, as a toddler, I read my first novel, which was The Sea Wolf by Jack London. Yeah, not that big of a novel, but, I read it. So anyway, the pyramids. Now, let's take a look at the structure.
How do you even understand the things in the book? Like
I don't know. I always knew stuff. Yeah.
That's
Well, I had a
crazy.
brother who was only 1 year younger than me, and my sister was 6 years younger than me. And I would look at them and I'd say, these are real kids. They're like babies. But nobody could see what I could see.
Wow.
I told my mom.
Did you think that your siblings were stupid?
No, I just thought that they were babies.
So you knew that you were operating as an adult.
Yeah, something was a little different.
Got it. But you thought that the expectation for them was normal and you were different.
Yeah, because I tried to talk to them about my stuff and they just couldn't. They couldn't rap. They couldn't even, understand what I was trying
Really?
to tell them. So I gave up.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
I've been walking around for decades with all this stuff in my head, just kind of like wandering through the wastelands of life,
Who do you think read more, you or Cat Williams?
No, Cat Williams read more. For sure.
Oh, really?
You don't think you got
I'm not going to
Cat?
compete with him.
You don't think you got Cat?
I'm not going to. I read over 1,000 scriptures, cylinders. I have 1,500 books in my house that I've read. That's one. But I've read over 1,000 scriptures, cylinder scrolls, papyruses, ancient text tablets, you name it, from all around the world.
Take that, Cat.
So, but I'm not going to take anything away from him. Whatever he said he read. So, yeah.
Okay, period.
But, okay, pyramid. So let's look at first thing, the structure. Okay, these blocks are all different. They're not the same exact size.
Right.
They're all custom made and custom fit. So the Lego theory would work
If it was all...
if the blocks were all the same. In other words, I know these blocks go for this particular, these blocks are going to be the same size no matter what. I can stack them over here or intermingle them. Every block is individually custom made to fit right where it is. So that becomes very, very difficult. It's like the Great Pyramid, over 2 million blocks of stone, and nobody realized that they're all different 2 million blocks. They're all, each individual stone is totally different from the other one, which means you can't make a cookie cutter and say, okay, we got these blocks ready, let's stack them up. Didn't quite work that way because they're all different. Now you have to take into consideration also the subterranean part of the Great Pyramid. The subterranean shaft, which cuts through solid stone and goes down 65 meters, then another 30 meters down beneath that, which I've been down there. How in the world did they cut that through solid stones that were already stacked? Some type of a laser cutting tool. And if you look at the mud ramp theory, the floating theory is a farce. You can't float these stones. The second thing we'll look at would be the mud ramp theory.
The floating theory, really quick, is the idea was that the Nile ran right up against.
Right.
I think the pier. So they were taking the stones from the Aswan Valley, I'm pretty sure.
Some of the granite from Aswan and then some of the stones from not too far away.
But the idea is that you could float them up the Nile.
Right.
So they weren't, because the original theory, I think, was that they were rolling them across the sand. And people were like,
Rolling
how
them.
could you possibly do
Right.
that?
Rolling
But the floating theory, I guess, makes sense in terms of a human's capability to move a heavy object.
Yeah. But you have to displace the mass.
Right.
What are you displacing mass with for that level of mass in water? Highly unlikely that they would be able to displace that much mass to keep them floating. Otherwise, they'd sink. I mean, look at all the mafia movies. They just throw you in. You don't come back up, and you have a lot of air in your lungs too.
Yeah. What were they using? Oh, fuck. There's like a video of this. What were they using to keep them afloat?
I forget, palm leaves or something. It was something ridiculous. It wasn't too bright.
It was on logs or something like that, maybe. Anyway, go on.
Yeah. Anyway, so you have that, but then also you have to take a look at the mud ramp theory, which is you need more mass than the Great Pyramid in mud to actually have the mud ramps. So now you have to move more mass than the 2 billion blocks to make the ramp. Again,
And
didn't make
ideally,
any sense.
the ramp is how they were building the pyramid up
right.
in that way. So you need a ramp to bring the blocks up.
Right.
And then when you get on top, do they just slide down? Like I'm so confused about how you finish that final stone.
It's a bad theory. It's a bad theory.
Well, I guess you could.
So once you start really analyzing the stones, the structures, the way that they're interlocked, you see there's an interlocking design system. And each stone is custom made to be put in place, which means it needs to be created at the moment that it's needed. How do you do that? How you're going to get this stone up this mud ramp or float it up into this area and then put it into a spot that it doesn't really fit? Oh, I made a mistake. It doesn't go here. Doesn't make any sense. The blueprint for the Great Pyramid, for example, was so sound, they had foreknowledge of exactly how to build it and why. And so you see that these stones were made and cut and put into place exactly, precisely when needed. It didn't take 20 years, in my opinion. It probably took maybe less than a year to build that pyramid. Now, what's the purpose of the Great Pyramid?
Why less than a
Well,
year?
if you look at the, I took my
I've been there. I've seen it.
took my Geiger counter, and my compass and everything else, and you start to realize that this is so high tech. It's like throwing up a house in my neighborhood. It takes them 18 months to throw a house up.
Yeah.
You know, this is not one of those things where we're trying to figure it out as we go. This is something that has been done so many times.
Gotcha.
It's common knowledge.
So this is advanced planning. They had the
Yes.
the logistics and the schematics all built
Right.
out. You need to for how sophisticated it is. I subscribe to that.
Right,
Like
right.
they're not throwing it all together.
Well, check this out. The Great Pyramid, if you calculating by the size of the base and the size of the stones, you can calculate the time 365 days in a year. You can calculate the distance from the Earth to the moon. You can calculate the distance from the Earth to the sun. You can calculate the speed of the Earth around the sun, the speed of the Earth on its axis, the speed of the sun around the Milky Way galaxy, and the speed of the Milky Way galaxy around the local cluster, all from the Great Pyramid mathematics. So now you got to tell me, how in the world did that fit in with the rolling logs, the water, or the mud ramp? We're talking about advanced technology, advanced beings that made that pyramid as a time capsule of incredible knowledge. A star map even is built into it to tell us who was here in the ancient past and who did it and how. When you take all the temples that are around the pyramid and the other two pyramids that are next to it, and you look at it from the sky looking down, and you connect them, you get a inner planet system of our solar system. You get the sun in the middle, you get Mercury, Venus, Earth, and Mars. So you get the interplanetary solar system from Giza looking straight down. And what's incredible is when you take the NASA interplanetary solar map and you overlay it on that diagram, it matches down to the millimeter. Was NASA around back then?
No.
I'm just asking for a friend. So obviously they knew what the hell they were doing. And also the distance from the sun to the Earth and to all these other planets by the astronomical unit, which is in astrophysics. How did they get that? The Grand Gallery leading up to the King's Chamber, the longitude is the exact digits of the speed of light in meters per second. People,
really?
Meters didn't exist back then.
You're telling that like stared tunnel that goes
Yeah.
there? Really?
Yeah, the location is the exact digits of the speed of light in meters per second. But guess what I found?
What's that?
I found Proto-Sumerian cuneiform in Mesoamerica on pottery and also tablets that show a Proto-Sumerian metric system. And I didn't find it myself, obviously, but I found the record of it and documentation of it. It's legitimate. And so the metric system existed long before that French guy discovered it. He only rediscovered what already existed.
Interesting.
Yeah. So it's like, man, then you look at the pyramid, it was sitting on top of an aquifer. The aquifer is dry now because the Nile is gone, the war happened and everything else. But when you have running water underneath magnetized crystal granite, you get physiostatic electricity. Those ions push up into the Grand Gallery. Some of the water comes up and goes down into the Queen's Chamber. I'll talk about that in a second. The energy from those ions moves up into the King's Chamber. It stepped up. Well, before it had to have that little box there. The box was added, by the way. Before that box was there, it had the capability of creating fusion and sending electricity through the apex. When the pyramid was broken, the structure was broken, they added that box. That box is the same exact dimensions as the Ark of the Covenant. The Ark of the
box
Covenant
you're
was
talking
there.
about, is that like tomb-like
That
structure?
rose
that's
granite
in-
box that's inside, yeah.
Yeah. How would they even get that in there?
Yeah, they added it later on. How to get? I think a lot of the stuff. I think they teleported or manifested. But look and listen to this. Check this out. Let me tell you. Let me tell you where I get that from. Let me tell you where I get it from. Listen, in the emerald. Listen to me.
Billy, come on.
In the emerald tablets. Listen to me. No, I'm gonna give you some science now.
Okay.
In the emerald tablets.
Give us the science.
Listen to me. In the emerald tablets, Thoth talks about manifesting solid matter. He talks about it as a specific way, manifesting solid matter.
I mean, it is when you're in there
Let me-
insane to get this too.
Well, let me tell you.
Yeah,
Let me tell you. He manifests solid matter from photons
Yeah.
and cymatic frequencies,
Cymatic frequencies.
Yeah.
What is that?
sound waves.
Fuck.
Yeah. So we know that in string theory and quantum physics that the way that the universe is formed and shaped is all based on vibrating microscopic strings that are emanating matter into existence.
Okay.
Through this frequency creates the illusion of reality. He's talking about this 36,000 years ago. Well, just 5 years ago, 2 scientists in a laboratory in the UK used for the first time ever photons and cymatics to manifest solid matter in a laboratory. Duplicatable, became peer-reviewed science. Peer-reviewed science.
Okay, so
So
they've
we've now
created-
rediscovered a way to create matter from photons and sound frequencies.
And I'm imagining they're doing this on a microscopic level.
Yes, on a very small level.
But the idea is if it could be done on a very small level, then it could potentially be done on a very large level.
Oh, now you're talking about literally manifesting entire structures.
Oh,
You send into the computer the blueprint you want,
so this is 3D printing.
and this thing prints out a whole building like this. When I went to Angkor Wat, before I get back to the pyramids, I took people on a big tour of Angkor Wat.
What is
second
Angkor
time.
Wat?
That's the largest temple complex in the world, located in Cambodia.
Oh, wow, okay.
And it's a pyramidal type structure. It's got the 3 rises on it, and it looks like poured rock. It's massive. It's megalithic. The X-Men mansion is based on this thing.
Can we bring that up, Mark?
All right.
And what's it called?
Angkor Wat, Angkor W-A-T, 2 words. Angkor, Angkor, then Wat, W-A-T. Now, what's interesting about Angkor Wat is the legend of the indigenous people there
Yeah, I've seen this.
is that it was built in a day and a night.
But is this like biblical day and night? Like obviously.
No, it's day and night. They said the gods built it in a day and a night. But that's not the only account of hearing that. It's been said in many, many different cultures around the world that a lot of these structures were built at a very rapid pace. In other words, again, foreknowledge, understanding, construction techniques. They have the whole thing ready to go. They understood. It's the one in the middle there. The middle down.
Right here?
To the right. Right. Yep, that's it.
Yeah.
Now look at that moat. This moat, which goes around Angkor Wat, I forget how many hectares it is, but it's more mass of mud removed to create that moat around Angkor Wat than the pyramid itself.
Oh, so the moat isn't natural?
No, it's man-made.
What?
It's more mass than the Great Pyramid by multitudes. Now,
Meaning
think
they had to excavate.
they had to excavate. But
And how did they get the water for it? Did they
Listen.
excavate up until a river or
Good
something?
question.
Yeah.
There's mountains, there's a flow of water coming in, there's some water coming from underneath, and also they had to utilize that water for irrigation. So you're talking about calculus, you're talking about geology,
Yeah.
you're talking about advanced mathematics, you're talking about excavation tech. There it goes. Right there. Look at this.
wow.
Look. Excavation technique.
I mean, that's insane.
You don't, as a civilization that long ago, say, you know what, let's drain all of our resources to dig this hole in the ground.
So there's no way that was already naturally forming.
No, they created it from scratch.
I mean, it's a perfect square. That's
Yeah,
pretty
they
wild.
created it from scratch. And what's interesting about it is
Holy
this.
shit.
You don't move more mass in the Great Pyramid on a hope and a wish that it's going to work. Think about that for a minute. Do you drain your entire civilization's resources to dig out that much mass and hope it's going to create irrigation and water flow and sustain its height and levels and everything else?
I mean, this is more impressive. Digging out that much
Foreknowledge.
mud is way more impressive.
This is foreknowledge. You don't do this. You don't start a project like this until you already know it's going to work.
But like, how would you even, like, I can understand the idea of moving big blocks, right? And even cutting big blocks. But digging out a moat of that size with what?
Yeah, exactly.
Shovels? You know what I mean? Like a block is the size that it is,
Yeah.
right? You can maybe carve it out of, some sort of like limestone valley. And then let's say you could move it with ancient techniques that are, seem pretty rudimentary to us now, but in
Right.
reality they were effective. Let's say that. Moving
possible.
big things is possible.
It's possible.
But to dig out that much,
Yeah.
I mean, it would just be hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people
Yeah.
with a shovel can't even be that big at a certain point in time. It's like, what the fuck?
13 feet deep.
13 feet deep. Yeah.
Pretty wild.
When you do the math,
And then how do you
on the side-
maintain the walls?
Yeah, it's all
Because wouldn't like
It's
you
high
see this,
tech.
But you see this happen, I think, with rivers. Like the reason why rivers have these bends in them. There's a mathematical formula that can predict the bends in a river.
Correct.
And the erosion patterns that happen on rivers cause the river water to sway,
Meanders,
which further erodes, and then the water comes back in the other direction, which further erodes. So you can actually calculate the bends in a river. The same thing, I mean, granted, water's not flowing here, but it would flow in. You would have erosion of these walls, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that seems pretty
Logical. That's incredible.
So are they reinforcing it in some way?
It has to be. I mean, I have not been able to
That's
dive
fucking
down there and
crazy.
take a look myself, but it has to be reinforced. It has to be a water break of some type that keeps it from, and it's also a pool.
Is this water stale?
No, it's fresh. It's good water.
But flowing from where? Like eventually a water would go stale.
It rotates down from the mountains. It flows through, and then even they have these tubes that go out and irrigate fields nearby. So they also use it for irrigation. This is advanced knowledge.
And this is how many years ago?
Thousands of years ago. They try to say that this was built only about maybe 800 years ago by this king who lived to the age of, I think he only lived to the age of 45. It would have been impossible for that work to be done with the rudimentary tools that they said he used in the time frame that he was alive. And you look at the glyphs, this thing is littered with hieroglyphs. I mean, sophisticated hieroglyphs that are laser etched, and every square inch is covered, which means we're talking about something, in my opinion, super ancient. This thing could be 20, 30,000 years old. I think the king who put his name on it did what everyone else does.
Wait,
goes
find
in,
some hot
finds
shit.
it, cleans it up.
Yeah.
It's mine. Refurbishes it a little bit. This is mine. I built this. No, you didn't build it.
Is there any cool stuff that's in the hieroglyphs or the?
Well, there you go, right there, the dinosaur.
The what?
See that dinosaur, that Stegosaurus?
Right here?
No, that's Brontosaurus.
On the down
you're
left.
saying.
Down left. Brontosaurus. Down
Oh,
left.
there's the Stegosaurus. Holy
yeah.
shit!
Yeah. I took a picture right next to that thing. There's several of them over there. And so what it proves is,
Oh no!
it proves that these people knew what the dinosaurs looked like with the meat on their bones, which is pretty interesting.
Oh no!
So even if they found a skeleton, they might not see like all the scales and stuff.
And the muscle structure and everything else.
yeah, to me, it's the muscle structure that's
Yeah.
more impressive
Right.
than the actual.
Yeah.
Now, is it possible?
Wow.
Fuck.
Yeah.
That one's tricky.
Yeah.
How did Stegosauri exist in this part of the world?
I don't know.
Like, can we look at Asia and see if there's?
I've never looked into it.
I imagine like the landmass that is China now extended into the Asian Pacific.
Yeah, it's all,
So
all Asian.
it would be possible that these animals would be frequenting these locations millions of years ago. Whoa! Okay, what other cool things that just make no sense?
This is where they filmed the Temple of Doom.
Got it.
Yeah, Temple of Doom was filmed there at Tao Prom, which I went to Tao Prom. But these sites are all really majestic and super ancient.
But what about are there other like dinosaur images?
Yeah,
Is there
there's
other imagery of
there's
anything
about
else?
4 more dinosaur images at the temple. I don't know if you can.
What about the
find
top
them
left
online.
one, Mark?
Right here?
Yeah. What is there? There's a long-necked creature. It could be a camel.
Looks like an elephant.
That's an elephant.
That looks like an elephant.
Yeah, they have a lot of elephants in the.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that
in
makes
the glyphs.
sense.
Look at these 3D glyphs, though. They're pretty elaborate.
Oh my god!
And they're all over the place.
Detail.
Imagine covering hundreds of miles with those glyphs nonstop from the top of the wall, from the bottom of the wall to the top of the wall.
Okay, let's assume, for example, it did happen 800 years ago. What other majestic creations did this culture that was clearly so advanced for the time create? It wouldn't be one thing, right?
No.
It would be many, like you see in Egypt.
Yeah.
There are many different pyramids. There are many different structures. So what else is...
There's about 40 incredible temples around that same area.
Got it. So it's not just this one
No,
thing.
it's not just that one thing. There are literally, I haven't even been to all the temples yet. And I've been there twice. It takes 38 hours to get there.
What?
Yeah, it takes 38 hours to get there, man.
Why?
It's hard to get there. That's how far away it is. You got to fly from, I live in Florida, so I got to fly from Florida to Qatar usually, from Qatar to Bangkok, from Bangkok to Cambodia. Yeah.
Wow.
It's hard to get there.
And what was this temple used for, in your opinion?
Well, that's interesting. There's a gigantic pool on the inside of this, on the second story. It's a megalithic pool that has to weigh, I don't know how many tens of thousands of tons, and it's on the second floor. There's another one on the third floor. There's a famous picture of me getting blessed by a monk sitting in front of one of those pools. The water's not in them. There goes one right there.
Get the fuck out of here.
I mean, what's supporting that structure? I mean, how did they know how to build this? And each one of those stones in the basin are super megalithic, like in Egypt, massive, like super massive. If I was standing, you'd get some size comparison to how big those stones are. Mm-hmm. And they're just sitting there, you know? And there's no collapse. After all these thousands of years, there's no collapse.
And why would there be collapse?
Well, if you don't understand how to distribute weight loads, if you don't understand calculus and mass ratios, this would collapse. But this is thousands of years and it's still sitting there perfect. I bet if you fill it with water, the water wouldn't even leak out of it.
And you're saying there's one on the second floor and another on the third floor
that
actually has water in it?
No, there's no water. They're both empty, probably because they don't want tourists to drown or fall
Does
in.
it rain, do you know?
It's a rainforest, so it rains all the time.
So maybe the rainy season would fill it with water.
Yeah. Well, they have holes now. There's little port holes they have. I don't know if you can't see them from this angle. No, on this side here. And I think that's used for drainage. But yeah, it's incredible, man.
Wow.
What an incredible place to visit.
All right, guys, I'm very excited to tell you about this next company that is sponsoring this podcast today because they're literally providing the two things that I need in my life now that I have a 10-week-old baby, okay? They are providing me with energy and focus and sleep. It is that simple. Gum and mints that actually help give you the energy you need and they help you sleep depending on which you choose, all right? First, we have the energy and focus. It's got the B6, it's got natural caffeine, and the L-theanine, or whatever the hell you pronounce it. It doesn't matter to you. What matters is it's gonna keep you up and focus, okay? It's been clinically proven and shown to improve short-term sustained attention and overall cognition. They have two delicious flavors, cinnamon and peppermint, and it's the quickest, most portable way to get some energy. If you don't have time to run and get a coffee, you could just pop a piece of gum or a mint, you just keep it moving. You'll freshen your breath and add a little pep in your step. Look at this lovely little container. And then when it's bedtime, okay, Neuro also has sleep and recharge mints. They are perfect for you to take with you if you travel, like your boy. We're on planes, all these different time zones, different situations, not going to bed. You don't even love the bed you're going to be sleeping in. How do we make sure that we get a good night's sleep? Bang. Simply put, right there. They have the nightberry and mixed berry option. Pick either 1 milligram or 5 milligrams of melatonin. It's up to you, which is clinically shown to regulate the body's circadian rhythm, your sleep-wake cycle. And they have patented cold compression technology that allows you to get consistent and accurate melatonin dosing in each mint to help you stay asleep. What I'm telling you is, if you're in a situation like mine, where you need to get that sleep in when you can, and you need to focus when you might not be having a lot of sleep, absolute no-brainer from Neuro, okay? So if you want to try Neuro for yourself, you go to www.neurogum.com. That is NEUROGUM.com. Use the code FLAGRANT. You're going to get 15% off your first order of sleep and recharge or energy and focus gum. And on your first subscription order. That is www.neurogum.com, spelled NEUROGUM, and use the code FLAGRANT for 15% off your first order of gum or mints. Good luck. Now let's get back to the show. All right, guys, let's take a break for a second. Mother's Day is coming up. We need to do something thoughtful, okay? This is actually a fantastic idea. The Skylight Calendar is a smart touchscreen calendar and organizer for all your chores, groceries, to-do lists, all this other stuff. It's a great, thoughtful gift, but not only because of that. This is the reason why I think it's really awesome. You can program and load up whatever pictures you want into the Skylight frame, okay? So while the frame is taking and managing all of your appointments and groceries and all the other stuff, or your mom's, it might be a nice gift to give to your mom, what you really want to do is change out pictures of you and your mom when you're kids, your mom taking care of your brother, your sister, all of you, an embarrassing, funny moment of your mom. And now you're giving your mom not just a new picture on, let's say, her birthday, let's say Mother's Day, but whenever you want, you're sending her that reminder that you love her and you miss her without actually going over to her house, which is something I know you never do. Look at this, 2 birds with 1 stone. Your mom feels good and thinks about you, and you don't have to do anything. So that's why I think that you're gonna really love this gift. It's a super easy thing to set up. It syncs events from existing family calendars. Again, it has all the stuff. It has all the tech stuff that your old ass mom probably doesn't even know how to use. But if she did know how to use it, she could use it. But most importantly, you're gonna get to filter in those pictures, surprise your mom, embarrass her at a nice dinner party. I'm telling you, you can be thoughtful, you can be antagonistic, which is all you wanna do when it comes to your lovely, beautiful mother. Also, your satisfaction is 100% guaranteed. So if you don't love the Skylight calendar, they offer a 120-day money-back guarantee and free refund. So what do you have to lose? Absolutely nothing. As a limited time special offer for our listeners, you can get 15% off your purchase of a Skylight calendar when you go to skylight.com/flagrant. That is SKYLIGHTCAL.com/flagrant. Mother's Day is coming right up, so order it today to get 15% off your purchase at skylightcal.com/flagrant. Is there any conspiracy theory that's wildly accepted that you disregard?
In regards to which topic?
Just, it could be anything. It could be like 9/11 was an inside job.
Flat
Or like,
Earth. I don't believe the flat Earth stuff.
you don't buy the flat Earth.
Nah. My teachings in science and real science tell me I understand mathematics, I understand spheres, I understand physics, accretion disks, quantum physics, quantum mechanics, all these things. They spell out how the universe looks mathematically.
Yeah.
And the universe itself is a sphere, and we're living in a fractal of that.
Oh yeah, I want to get into that.
Yeah.
Wait, one last question about
Yeah.
the pyramids. So,
Yeah, let's go ahead, yeah.
what is the purpose of like the pyramids of Giza?
Oh yes.
Okay, yeah. So the Great Pyramid is a power generation system, or was. When the energy shot out of the apex, the magnetized crystal granite obelisk would capture that ambient energy. And if you had something called a JED, you can connect that JED with a wire, which we have pictures of the hieroglyphs of them doing this, to light bulbs and electroplating devices and everything else, and you can power tools. So you had power tools, power lighting capability through ambient energy, the same technique that Nikola Tesla used to build the Wardenclyffe Tower that was eventually, he lost the funding from JP Morgan. And then the bent pyramid is not bent because it was an accident. They got the angle wrong. That's baloney. The bent pyramid was told to me by one of my mentors, who was a homegrown Egyptologist that passed away a couple years ago, unfortunately, bless his soul. It's a diagnostics tool. And so inside the bent pyramid, which I've climbed all the way to the apex from the inside. Have you been to the inside, going all the way to the top?
I haven't visited the Bent Pyramid.
Okay.
I've only been to Giza.
When you get into the top and you look over, you get to see down to this other, I guess you want to call it a room. And in that area, he said, if somebody was sick or injured, they would be brought into this one chamber, which I've climbed into. I took 140 people in there in groups. There's another area that would be full of water. And then they would gong this stone, and it would create this resonance that would vibrate throughout all the different other chambers. And the person at top, they call him the priest, he would look over and he would see almost like an x-ray of the person's body. I know it sounds fanciful, but that's what was said. If you look at the bent pyramid and you look at the pyramid of the sun side by side, it's the same exact structure.
The Bent Pyramid and the Pyramid
of the Sun in Teotihuacan, Mexico,
Got it.
right? Very similar shape.
Yeah.
So the shape isn't an accident.
It's not the exact same, but I hear what you're saying.
The angle, the change of the angle, the look, the feel of it, you kind of get the idea.
Now, the argument for the one in Teotihuacan is they're going to say that this would create the most structural integrity. Whereas the Bent Pyramid, I think that they say that they were using like mud blocks, right? And didn't
Those stones are limestone, and this
the
thing
Bent Pyramid?
Yeah.
My understanding is that it was kind of collapsing under its own weight. or
No,
something
no.
like that.
The Bent, I'm doing a whole show on this.
I believe, yeah.
The Bent Pyramid, you see those areas on the corner that are dark and all kind of chewed up? When you go up right on them, you notice that they're actually burnt. They're charred. And then there's a debris field coming off of the corner down into where the sand is. And I have some of the samples that we've had looked at, those samples of charred stone, burnt stone. And what's going to burn and char that stone and create these explosions? There's another area around the other side where a huge piece of it's been blown off. You can see that it's hit and it's blown out, not collapsing. And so what would make that amount of debris fly that far away from the pyramid? If something collapses, it falls straight down.
Yeah.
This stuff goes up and out. And you can kind of calculate the trajectory. You go, oh man, something impacted this. A projectile impacted this pyramid. So it's another remnant of an ancient war, in my opinion, that same war that I told you about earlier. But the pyramid is like that by design.
So you're saying that these pyramids were power systems?
Not all of them. This one was supposed to be, according to my source, a diagnostics tool.
But the Great Pyramid of Giza was a power system.
Power plant, yes.
I've heard this before.
And there's been books written about this by engineers.
Yeah, and how would it
Christopher Dunn.
function as a power plant?
Well, it functions well. Like I said, running water underneath granite creates physiostatic electricity.
Yeah.
In the area that you walked up, that grand gallery, there's these slots on the side.
Okay.
And we estimate, or we hypothesize, that there were rods in those sections. They call them resonating rods.
Okay.
And that would step up the energy going into the king's chamber. And then from there was some type of fusion that would happen. If you notice that a stone box inside the king's chamber has a big chunk missing off of it, and if you look across directly to the wall, 20 feet away, you can see where that chunk that flew off impacted the wall and created the shape of that broken piece. How can you break rose granite and send it that distance and crash into another piece of granite and have it break into that piece? So we know that there was an explosion in there. Okay.
Yeah.
So evidence of an explosion. It's a power generator. Now the queen, what I was talking about earlier, the queen's chamber, water would flow into that. And Christopher Dunn, when I interviewed him the other day, after all these years of me talking about this, I had no idea he had the same hypothesis. This guy is a real engineer. The water would go down there, and through electrolysis, they would extract hydrogen atoms from the water.
Okay.
So if you take a battery, like a 9-volt battery, put it in a glass of water, you'll start seeing bubbles.
Okay.
That's the hydrogen coming out of the water.
Okay.
You're extracting it's that easy to do. It's not hard. I'm trying to make the point like it's not like real science. It's simple. You just need to understand positive and negative volts. Anyway, but why hydrogen? The shafts of the pyramid, those open shafts, they align with star systems. They align with Orion, Aldebaran, Sirius star system, right? All these different star systems on different alignments, on the different precession of the equinoxes. What communication method do we use right now, like at SETI and in modern technology, astrophysics, to try to communicate with ET? We transmit information on the hydrogen frequency because it's the most abundant frequency in the universe. So in my opinion, this is my own hypothesis. Now, see, I always tell you the difference between text and my hypothesis. On those alignments, we would transmit information to those star systems, updates on our breakaway civilization, to our other.
So they were not using it as a power system.
They use it as both. It's a multifunctional stone computer and a power generator.
So it's a power generator for, Egypt, whatever they were doing. Okay. And then it's also a communication device for other galaxies.
Correct. That's my personal opinion. Other star systems, not galaxies.
Sorry, other star systems.
Yeah, right.
Well, isn't a galaxy a star system?
Well, our Milky Way galaxy has trillions of star systems inside of it. So,
got it.
Yeah. And there's
Got it.
trillions
The
and trillions of
galaxy has the star systems.
Yeah.
And each star system, we are within one star system. Got it.
And how is the Ark of the Covenant related to this?
Well, when the Great Pyramid, for some reason, stopped producing enough power, they took the Ark of the Covenant and they created that rose granite box inside the king's chamber, and they put it inside of there.
What is the Ark of the Covenant?
It's a power generating technology. How do we know this? Because
But what is it? What do people think it is? I've heard the Ark of the Covenant.
I think
What does
it's
that
this
mean?
holy thing that existed that, just protected the Hebrews and protected them from the Pharaoh. It's a lot more than that. When you begin to read even the biblical text, you discover it was technology. The person that handled it had to have on rubber boots, right? It's electric. You had to have on special rubber gloves. You had to have on these breastplates to help diffract some of the radiation that was coming out of it. And if you didn't have that stuff on and you touched it, you'd die instantly. People thought it was holy and magical. No, it's just technology. You're getting shocked to death.
Right.
Now, the descriptions of this thing, sending out lightning bolts and all this stuff and vibrations and buzzes, it's electrical. So some scientists at a university in America reproduced it utilizing the same instructions in the biblical text,
Reproduce what?
the Ark of the Covenant. And guess what? It generated so much power they had to shut it down. And anyone can Google that, look up the experiment, and watch the videos on YouTube of them doing it. It's real. It was technology, and that's what was inside of the stone box. How do I know? It's the same exact dimensions as the Ark of the Covenant. And that's what happened when Moses, aka probably Akhenaten, I think it was really the person, fled Egypt. He had, it wasn't slaves building the pyramids, by the way. Take the slave thing out of your mind. There was no slaves building pyramids. Didn't happen. People were building and working on the pyramids because they were honoring the gods. There were no Hebrew slaves in Egypt building pyramids. Nowhere does it even say that. There's records of the payroll and even the medical expenses to help people out who got injured or hurt at the job site, at the temples. And that stuff is in the museums. It's all documented. So it's not just me saying that. But Akhenaten started bringing in the one God religion, the monotheistic religion. He's the first one to bring that in. We're gonna worship the great Amen, Amen Ra. He started telling his people to go around and deface all the other gods, erase them from history, chisel them all away. That's why when you go to Egypt, you see all those chiseled faces away, all the noses broken off and all that. It's not because, I hate to say it, but it's a fact. It's not because white people didn't want to know that, let us know that black people were in Egypt. That's not true. I'm going to tell you what it is. It's not true. I've been there long enough to know, and I know enough history to know when the white people actually arrived there, these things were broken before
They even got there.
they even got there.
Yeah.
So there's enough noses that still exist, by the way, that are on display that tell you, well, wait a minute, if these are just as old and these still have noses, then these never got beat up. But anyway, the point is, he then took these people and created his own following, his own cult following. They all wanted to worship one God. And Amen said, there'll be no other God but me because I'm a jealous God. That made it into the Bible, right? And he then decides to take his people, because now the politics are like, we got to get this guy out of here. He's destroying our history. He says, okay, I'll leave. I'm taking my people with me. He goes into the Great Pyramid and takes the Ark of the Covenant with him and takes that out into the desert. This is why he had to chase him down. You just lift it up and take it out. As long as you have the boots on, I mean, it's clear instructions on how to do it.
Oh, I thought it was like enclosed.
No, it's not enclosed.
okay.
It's just like a lift up thing with two handles on each side.
Oh, okay.
They took it out of the king's chamber. The new pharaoh said, man, that's our power source.
So it was justified to chase him.
Yeah, like if he takes that, we lose all. We're going back into the Stone Ages.
Yeah.
That's the power source. We
get
got to
him.
get this guy now.
Yeah.
That's what it was all about. The power source.
Oh, wow. But he ended up getting away with it.
He got away with it. Yeah. With that one, there were a few more. There were two more Arks of the Covenant, but they didn't have one.
Who had him?
Well, there was one in China and one in Mesoamerica.
What did they make with it in China?
Nobody knows. Yeah. You know, they got 3 pyramids in China that match the same Orion alignment as the Great Pyramids and alignment that we have at Giza on the Giza Plateau.
Can you bring that up?
Yeah, bring up the China pyramids aligned with Orion.
So who were the group of people that built the pyramids?
These were the Atlantean people. Yeah, they had humans working on the pyramids because, I mean, you know, if I own a construction company and then I have a master architect, underneath then I have a foreman, underneath them then I have the workers. You see? So that's how it is. So the workers are doing work under the tutelage and utilizing tools in the way that we have taught them, but at the end of the day, it's the master blueprint coming from one master architect. There you go. China's on the left right there. The Xi'an pyramids.
They're called the what?
The Xi'an, Xian. You see those 3? They're perfectly aligned with Orion. The next one is the Teotihuacan, perfectly aligned with Orion. And the third one, obviously, is the pyramids of Egypt, perfectly aligned with Orion as well. So, one master architect.
Now, a traditional mainstream scientist would look at this and go, of course, we're going to align these structures with the 3 brightest stars in the galaxy, right?
Yeah.
And if there was nothing to read back then, there was nothing to watch, there's no TikTok, there's no Instagram. Yeah. The coolest thing going on is the night sky.
Right.
And when you look up in the night sky, you start making shit out. Oh, that's Orion's belt. This is a whale. This is a giraffe, whatever it is. Okay, so that's what the traditional mainstream
correct
philosopher or scientist would say. Can we see the just pictures of the pyramids not aligned, just like face on? I never knew that there were these pyramids in China.
It's hard to get
access to them.
It's hard to get access to the face on lot, because China doesn't want them out. They don't even let people visit them. There's one.
Why is that?
They're keeping them sacred. You see, there goes one there. They've got it nicely covered with some nice trees.
Yeah, did they plant these trees?
It looks like
Yeah,
they've
they
been planted.
planted them. Yeah, they covered them with dirt and planted trees on top of them.
And why do they want to plant? Why do they want to cover this? What benefit would that be?
They just don't want people to know that
There was an advanced
there's
civilization, and
yeah, exactly. The more cover up, more.
the Chinese pyramids and the pole star. Is that's not beneath the pyramids, is it? All
No,
these
that's a
statues?
different area right there. He's looking at the
So the terracotta warriors.
the terracotta wars. Yeah, that's totally different. But yeah,
Wow.
a lot of incredible stuff there in China.
Whoa.
But yeah, they got the pyramids too. Now, the alignment is extremely hard to do. So that alignment happens on a processional period. So you're talking about a massive span of time. You're talking about it has to align every, depending on the procession, every 13, 14,000 years, right? So all of a sudden, you look at the Younger Dryas era, where we had a mass extinction level event happen right above Syria and just decimated that whole region and down even into Asia. Not the perfect time to be building a pyramid complex. So you got to go back another processional period to get the right alignment to make sure it works. And you have to build it to that where it aligns with these stars show up right over the pyramids on a specific time. So now we're going back 36,000 years, the same age as the Great Pyramid, the same age as the Emerald Tablets of Thoth.
Whoa.
Can you tell us about not Göbekli Tepe, but there's another ancient structure right near there that you had talked about?
Derinkuyu?
I think so.
Yeah.
Derinkuyu is an amazing underground city.
There's a bunch of them.
Yeah, there's a bunch of them, correct. And this one was discovered by a farmer. And when they opened it up and went down there, it can hold up to 30,000 people going down 12 stories deep into the ground.
To the water level.
Yes. And even areas for worshiping and cattle,
Livestock,
and all of that. No sign of any collapse. 14,000 ventilation shafts leading to the highest levels to bring oxygen to the people at the deepest level.
And what is your
That's advanced
hypothesis?
technology, because when you have a ventilation shaft this wide, an inch or two wide, cutting through solid stone down 12 stories, what kind of tool can do that?
Yeah, that's interesting.
How do you
Why
do
would
that?
they build it though? Why would they want to live underground?
Good question. All the cultures around the world, all the indigenous cultures have the same story. At some point, there was a disaster. It's not known if it was war or geological. It's not known.
So geological would be comets or something like
Right.
that, and war would obviously just be
Yeah.
a neighboring tribe.
Right.
Yeah.
So these people called the Ant people took them underground. The Lakota tribe, the Hopi tribe, the Aboriginals, the people of Egypt also. And go to the Cairo Museum, you see the Ant people depicted there. They took them to underground chambers. And then, of course, the people in Turkey, same story. They were taken underground. This structure was built to keep them alive, not by them, by the gods. Pretty interesting.
And why would the gods just stop whatever was going on?
We're talking about some people with big egos. It was always, I'm the best. I'm better than you. I got the most resources. At one point, how the war happened, when they came to this planet, they were forbidden to touch the WMDs, the weapons of mass destruction. This was his tablet, weapons of mass destruction. They stole some from Nibiru and brought them here and hid them in a mountain. But they swore that they would never use them. But then, of course, some of the relatives discovered them years later and decided to go get those weapons and use them, which created the evil wind on Earth, which started killing a lot of people. And then that's when they said, well, Enki went to his father Anu and said, can you stop the evil wind? And he goes, no, I can't. So get in your skyship and forebode. That means get the hell out of here.
Is there a part of you that's like so much of this isn't proven?
Mm-hmm.
Is there a part of you that goes, man, one day I might, one day, we're all going to pass and you might not know what really happened, what's really going on in the world.
It's
and
fact.
Does that frustrate you? Have you accepted that these things just can't be proven? Like how do you,
I see it like this. I'm planting seeds for trees that are going to grow that I'll never sit in the shade of.
Wow. And you're okay with that?
I'm okay with that. I've done my part. In the grand scale of things in this incarnation, I feel like I've done my part.
Do you ever wish that you would get a sign from these advanced beings, from these cultures that exist in different galaxies or solar systems?
In 1977, when we moved to Miami and Opelika, we lived next to the Opelika airport. I was outside in my backyard. This is how I got into all this. I was watching the planes go over my house in the backyard because it always intrigued me. How can the plane be going so slow, but I know it's got to be going fast to stay in the air? Then this day, this thing came across and cleared the horizon in seconds, not minutes. And it was a glowing, not a full-size cigar, not really an egg, but kind of in between, metal, glowing metal. And it went across, and then it stopped, and it came back and hovered above me, and was gone again. I went running in the house. I told my mom, oh, my God, I can't believe what I just saw. It didn't have a wing, fuselage, none of that stuff. I knew what an airplane looked like as a kid. And I went to my library the next day at my elementary school, Rainbow Park Elementary in Opelika, which is still there. And I told my teacher, I have to get the encyclopedia, the old Google. And I went and got all the aerospace information and started researching swept wing, delta wing, intercontinental ballistic, all the different types of submarines. I looked for anything that I could see to what I saw in the sky. I never found it. But that's what led me down this whole rabbit hole, the discovery. I became a kind of a quasi-aerospace historian, and that led me, eventually, technology led me into ancient civilizations.
So you think you saw an alien spaceship?
Yeah, because back then, I don't believe we had the technology to create a ARV, an alien reproduction vehicle. I think what I saw was probably a real UFO.
Wow. Are you the first black guy to see a UFO?
No, I'm not the first black guy. I'm just one of the, I'm not probably not one of the first because I know there was Benny and Barney Hill. Barney Hill was a black guy who came out. I think it was in the 60s or 70s about his abduction situation with him and his wife. And him and his wife were abducted, and they gave an account of what these beings showed them as where they came from. And nobody knew where the Zeta Reticuli star system was at that time. It didn't exist in our star maps. Later on, it came out. A person says, wait a minute, and they put it together and said, this is Zeta Reticuli. We found this star system now. Now we know where they say they were from. Pretty interesting.
Wait, hold on. So this couple described a star system that they could have no prior knowledge of?
Correct.
Meaning they couldn't have gone to school and learned about this or read about this anywhere.
All right, exactly.
Later on, we find this star system.
Yeah.
And then who connects the dots?
An astrophysicist or astronomer connects the dots and says, wait a minute, this is Zeta Reticuli.
Okay, so you see this thing. And again, we don't know. It could be advanced technology that we have that you saw.
It could be.
Right.
Science is full of uncertainty, which I learned from Professor James Gates yesterday when I talked to him about supersymmetry and stuff in an interview I did with him just yesterday. And that uncertainty is always there. You can never say anything for 100% certainty. And so because of that, there is always a possibility that it's something else.
I had dinner with Bob Lazar.
Okay.
And my takeaway from the dinner with Bob was going on Rogan, and Rogan asked me if I wanted to come to dinner. So we went to Fogo de Chao.
Wow.
As you do. And Bob was there, and Jeremy Corbell was there as well.
Yeah.
And I believed Bob believed what he saw. Now, that doesn't mean that it's not advanced technology that we have, that we've created. But I do believe that he was working on something, and he believed it was alien spacecraft. So I believe that he was being honest.
I could tell you why I believe his story, at least some of it, is because he talked about element 115 before we even discovered element 115.
Yeah.
We're talking about 25 years span in between.
That's why the star system thing is quite interesting to me. So if you are describing things that have not been discovered yet, and then they do become discovered,
exactly,
it adds some credibility.
Yeah.
Okay, so with your situation, you believe you saw a UFO.
Yeah.
Do you think that the UFO people, the aliens or whoever they are, do you think they choose the people that see them, or this is happenstance?
If you start researching these alien abduction experiences or these alien sighting experiences, which there are now over 7 million of them documented in MUFON, you start to see a similarity between the stories and repetitiveness with some of the visitations or sightings or whatever you want to call them. And so it's quite possible that they isolate and interact with specific people at specific times. I mean, to what agenda? I mean, at the end of the day, we're like ants.
Did you have any communication at all? Did you feel anything in the moment?
I felt nothing in that moment. I had a second experience in 2010, which is well documented. I've talked about it. It took years to come out about it because I basically lost my whole family over this.
No way.
Yeah.
You came out of the closet? No,
No, Diddy.
no.
But yeah, I
Tell
did.
me, what happened?
So 2010, I came home. I was working on this big project called Fort Terra Nova, which I built. And Fort Terra Nova, it was on the History Channel, a Countdown to Apocalypse, the Nostradamus episode. And anyway, so I was working on this project. I come home, I'm looking at ESPN, and I'm looking at sports. About 9 o'clock p.m. All the lights turn dim, the TV turns off, and I thought my kids were playing a trick on me because they lived up in the room behind me, up on the second floor. And I look up, and there's nobody there. When I turn around, there were these two beings right there.
Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah. And, man, hold on.
Whoa.
Sorry.
No.
Why do you have big freaky something, man?
No.
So they were right there. I'm sitting in a chair about this high, so they were right here in my eyes. And
Yo, Alex is freaking out right now. What the fuck? This is wild. Okay.
all right, let me get myself together.
No, take your time.
So they were there. They had the big almond eyes like you see on TV. I swear they did.
So you're two beings in front of
But
you.
they didn't look like they were real eyes. They looked like coverings of some type. And they didn't communicate with me through any kind of telepathy that I could tell, but I felt like my brain was shaking in my skull to the point where it started hurting, and I started screaming, but no sound was coming out of my throat. I can feel the air coming out, but I couldn't hear it myself.
And you were awake during this period. You
I
weren't
was
taking
awake,
a nap or anything like
taking
that?
a nap, no psychedelics.
Of course, yeah.
And my whole house, everyone was in. My wife at the time, my ex-wife was in the bedroom right behind the next wall. My girls were in that side of the house, a split floor plan. My boys were in that side of the house. The house was full of people. Nobody heard or saw anything. I was screaming. A few seconds later, it stops, and they turn around, and they don't walk like a person. They kind of dangle. So they kind of dangled away, and they went right through the wall. And then, boom, the TV comes back. The lights come back to normal color. And that's when I went running around the house, and it was just traumatic for everybody, and it was like the straw that broke the camel's back. There was other reasons why, but, I ended up my one son, Giovanni, he's told me I'm scared to even come around you. And still to this day, he rarely ever calls me or comes around. It's kind of like I lost my son. I made no money off of this. I got no exposure off of this. That's why I kept it quiet for so long. Lost my family, created a lot of dissension. I remember we were on the highway one day, and my wife was driving at the time, my ex-wife, and she slammed on the brakes, and it was like, just get out of the car, because it was the kids were scared, and I was like, I'm sticking to my story. I'm not changing my story because this really happened to me, and they just didn't want to hear it. But her parents were Jehovah's Witnesses, so everything was of the devil, and so it was a pretty traumatic experience. It took a long time to talk about it. The only reason why I came out with that information was because I started running into a lot of people at conferences that would come up to me and tell me that they were having these experiences. They were horrified to talk about them. So I felt like if I would talk about it, I would give them strength for them to have expressed themselves and walk in their truth and believe in their experience that they had.
Okay, so when you started telling this story just right now, I want to point something out.
Yeah.
Listen, I'm skeptical about everything. I just want to let you know.
Yeah.
I could believe there was one physical sensation that I saw in you that kind of freaked me out. I'm not going to lie. Crying, people can put that on.
True.
You started to perspire.
Yeah.
I know.
That, to me, I don't know. I know that actors can induce crying. I don't know if they can induce sweat. so to me, the tears are less of an example. I mean, your whole forehead just started to sweat. So maybe that is a traumatic experience of the loss of your family, and that is evoking that reaction. But fuck. Okay.
Were the beings, did they have clothes on? Was there anything else discernible about them?
Yeah, they didn't really have on what looked like clothes to me. They weren't really gray. They were almost like brownish, but they had very big eyes, two little tiny dots for a nose, a slit for a mouth, They never opened the mouth. They never opened. It never moved at all. It didn't even shake. There was no facial movements. I couldn't discern if they were even real or not real, or, in terms of like being something that was flesh. But their hands were very long and dangly like you see on TV, I swear to you. And I was just like completely shocked. Now, two things happened to me after this situation. The first thing was, of course, I scared the hell out of everybody. The second thing was I kept hearing this voice in my head over and over again, worldwide telescope, worldwide telescope, worldwide telescope, over and over and over. So finally, the next day I got so tired of this, I couldn't stop this noise, this phrase.
What was the sound of the voice? What was the...
It sounded like my voice.
It's your own voice.
My own voice.
Echoing worldwide telescope. Worldwide.
Over and over and over again. So I go to my computer. Back then, Google wasn't a big name yet. It was excite.com. So I get on excite.com. I type in worldwide telescope, but you can type it in on Google now. First thing popped up was worldwidetelescope.org, and I almost fell out of my chair. Worldwidetelescope.org is a site where all the space probe data from all the missions into space exists based on taxpayer and research data. So you can download this. Back then you had to download it. You couldn't just web. You didn't have www4 or whatever they call it now. But now you can just run it from the app, from the browser. But back then you had to install it. You can still install it if you want. I go in there, I go in, and I go, okay, what is this? And I see Moon, Mars, all these other planets and so forth and star systems. I click on Mars. I click on Mars, then I see panoramas pop up. I go, panorama. I click on panoramas. The next thing I know, I see the names of panoramas. So I click on McMurdo Valley. I go into McMurdo Valley, and I start seeing things that don't belong.
What's a panorama?
It's like
just an image?
A wide image, but it's not just a
it.
regular image. It's an image that allows you to zoom in, zoom out, pan left and right from the rover's perspective.
So you're looking at images that have been taken from spacecraft.
From the Mars rovers.
The Mars rovers.
Yeah.
Of Mars?
Spirit rover and Opportunity rover.
But they are of Mars, or they're of...
They're of Mars, on Mars.
Got it, okay.
Yeah. Spirit rover is no longer operating because one of the last images it transmitted looked really strange. I think they just blew it up or something. they never turned it back on after that one. But these things that I saw on the surface between the presidential panorama and also McMurdo Valley, they didn't look like they belonged on Mars. They looked like broken down structures from the Middle East. And I was like, what the hell is this? And the more I looked, the more of these anomalies I kept seeing. So it led me down a whole rabbit hole into anomaly hunting. That anomaly hunting got me into researching these ancient civilizations. That's how it happened. That's literally how it happened. So because of that experience, I became an expert in ancient civilizations, literally. That's how I got into it.
And do you feel, is this an example of the...
Yeah, that's the Spirit rover right there on the upper left. And there's a lot of anomalies. We've documented so many crazy anomalies over the years. And I can send you some if you want to pop them in there. Just some crazy stuff that made CNN, that made CNBC, Fox News. A lot of our stuff has been featured in the news. We've downloaded over 1 million of these panoramas from the space agencies, and we've now documented over 60,000 anomalies. Things that don't belong there. Everything from pyramids to ankhs.
Yeah, what is the craziest image that you have documented?
The craziest image I would have to say would be this object that looks like, I gotta say looks like, because we're not there, looks like an airplane. Another one would be this statue on the side of Victoria Crater. And I can pull these up and give them to you. Another one would be these ankhs. We found several ankhs laying around in the sand.
What's an ankh?
The Egyptian ankh. The cross with the loop on top.
Oh.
Yeah. What are those doing up there? And I'm just saying.
That's a good point.
What's that doing there?
But that's a good question.
Crazy.
So, okay. I don't want to lean too much into this, but I would be remiss if I did not ask you.
Yeah.
It must be, I would imagine, if I was someone in your shoes and I had now...
That's Victoria Crater, by the way.
Man, get the fuck out of here.
No, that's real. You can pull it up. Anybody can pull these up. That's what I love about these. I always give the source links so anyone can pull them up. Any person.
Now, obviously, that's been colorized to make it more visible.
To make it pop out, yeah. There it goes, uncolorized.
But even uncolorized, it's still just a little bit crazy.
It's there. And there's even more on that crater. but it's to the left, that's not a good, it's not a wide panoramic shot, but there's more, a lot more there.
Okay, so again, I would be remiss not to ask this. You have a sighting with a UFO, then you have an interaction with beings, and then you have a message to go look up these images.
Yeah.
I would imagine someone in your shoes, it would be very difficult to not follow this. I don't even want to say line of thinking, but follow this. They've almost like edged you in a direction.
Yeah.
It would be very difficult to not run down that hallway. So I would imagine it would be hard for a person in your shoes after having these experiences to not think, hey, they want me to go look into this stuff.
That's quite,
Is that kind of what you feel?
That's a fact. Now, what I've done is to try to combat the nudging that's happened. I always keep digging into the science. So I've talked to geologists, I talked to scientists, I talked to engineers, I talked to homegrown guides, archaeologists, indigenous people from all around the world. I keep digging and trying to debunk my own theories.
Got it.
And the deeper I dig to debunk, the less I debunk.
Because you've heard these stories. Listen, and we're not here to discredit you. I literally want to do this podcast because I was just like, take us fucking deep. This is going to be so much fun. Like, I don't care about the science or the fact. I want to just hear the craziest shit that you got to say. I did not know you were going to talk about fucking meeting aliens. That's kind of crazy. Okay. But I can also imagine that if that happened to me, I would go down this rabbit hole and I would just see how deep it would go. And I would also maybe even feel like it was my purpose to do this thing, right? They've chosen me. Mm-hmm. And what have they chosen me to do? So what, if you do feel that way, why do you think they've chosen you? And two, what do you think that your purpose is?
Yeah, I always consider that, like, why me? Why did this happen to me? The only thing I could think of is that I have a high retention for information. My recall ability is incredible in a lot of the stuff that I talk about, especially when I'm passionate about it. Probably everyone does. They just maybe don't realize it, but maybe they saw my ability to consume a lot of information and my ability to travel the world. I've been around the world 38 times now. Right. Last year, I spent 9 months in hotels. Not many people can do that and still make a living and do what they do. So maybe they have a way of understanding, like, hey, this guy has the skills, the tools, and the capacity to really grasp this.
And why is it important that you grasp it? Why is it important to them that you share this? That's what I'm trying to understand. Like, what are they trying to get to?
This is what my hypothesis that I came up with. Human beings are an abandoned seed colony on this planet. And we have had some influence due to people violating what I would call a prime directive. We've been engaged in a way that we weren't supposed to be engaged, and we've been given technologies that have sped us up far past where we should be right now. Including here, this AI thing is coming, right? And that's no oversight, no nothing, and it's just being unleashed on us. Again, more advancement in the blink of an eye that we're not ready for, spiritually or consciously. And it put us in a predicament. And I believe that there are people out there that are watching us, I do mean people, that are watching us and observing us to see when we're gonna go from being babies that are learning how to crawl, to learning how to walk, to learning how to run, to being adolescents, to even then becoming full, and consciously in the spirit, to becoming full-grown adults. I think that mankind is a baby learning how to crawl. And every now and then when a baby learns how to crawl, it plops down on its stomach, right? Because it has to get the strength. We've plopped down on our stomach a few times. Those will be some of the hiccups in our civilization right now. Eventually, we will grab onto the edge of a table and pull ourselves up and start taking steps.
What are the hiccups?
Hiccups, racism, slavery, inquisitions, religion.
Atomic bombs, maybe?
Atomic bombs, technologies that we're not ready for. All these things are the hiccups, right? Police brutality. My dad was killed by police, And so all these things, you look at it, and from a perspective of right now, it looks like things are getting worse. But it's actually the greatest time to be alive. Mm-hmm. There's no bubonic plague, there's no black plague, there's no Spanish flu. Those things almost wiped out human beings. Yeah. There's no papal inquisitions, there's no American Holocaust, which nobody talks about. 111 million indigenous natives of the Americas slaughtered in 70 years. Nobody talks about that, but that happened, right? And so that's not happening, right? I can go outside, you can go outside. We don't see dead bodies laid all over the street right now. Now, are there things going on like in Israel and Iran and all these other things? Yes. But overall,
Yeah.
on a mass consensus, it's the greatest time to be alive.
Yeah.
And so we're at the stage now where we have an opportunity to grab onto the edge of the table and pull ourselves up and begin to take those first steps. But after we take that step, what's going to happen? We're going to fall and we're going to cry. But when the challenge is when we pull ourselves back up, how long will it take for us to get a good walking gait? What is the definition of walking? Controlled falls. We have to learn how to control our fall. That's how you achieve a golden age. And I think that they're waiting at some point for us to see, for us to realize when we can stand up and we can start taking those steps in the right direction.
And then they give us some good shit again, or
It's quite possible. That gives us the ability to get open communication.
they're like,
or-
okay, we trust you now.
Or we have to get to a certain level consciously before other technologies can be revealed. I mean, I don't know. I'm just guessing at this point, but I think they're waiting to see how long will 8 billion people allow 100 families to control them.
8 billion people.
Are being controlled by 100 families.
Who are these families?
These are the elite oligarchs that control the planet. You know, they literally run us. They tell us what to do, hear, see, smell, taste, touch, feel, where we can go, where we can't go. Don't cross over that invisible line because if you do, you know, you're illegal and all this other kind of crazy stuff. They're running us, and governments are put in place to work for the people, but they got it flipped and they got us working for them.
Right.
And telling us what they're going to do to us if we don't listen to them. That's the opposite of what it's supposed to be. So at some
Isn't this
point,
what they learned from the
learned it.
Anunnaki? Or
They
whatever?
learned it, and they learned it real well.
But isn't that's what the Anunnaki? At least that's what you're saying
But-
that they did
yeah.
for the human race, right?
But the problem, the reason why the world it is today, why we have this boot on our neck, is because it's because of us. We're the problem. The 8 billion are the problem.
Because
Not
we
them.
haven't elevated our consciousness to the level that
They're sharks. A shark smells blood, a shark attacks.
Right.
A shark is going to be a shark. How come we as 8 billion people haven't stopped falling for these divide and conquer tactics and stop fighting each other over the scraps and realize who the real enemy is? While we're fighting each other, they're just cutting up the pie and laughing at us. Left wing, right wing, all the same bird, right? There's no such thing as a Democrat or Republican. The only thing that does exist, like I say, is a group of elite oligarchs that torture men, women, and children worldwide. That exists. Democrat and Republican doesn't exist.
now how can we be so sure that those people are not working with the beings that you saw, and maybe they're doing the bidding of those beings?
We
and
can't be.
Those beings might not be benevolent.
They may not be. I don't know. All I could tell you is what my hypothesis is.
Yeah.
And I feel that when mankind realizes that we're all bent over with a big table on our back, a playing board. When we stand up, the table falls off of our backs and the game is over. And standing up means unity, loving one another, treating you and everyone else like brother and sister, understanding that we are all just different aspects of one another, and realizing that everything is conscious. And then we get to the next level. Until then, it's going to be this whole I'm better than you and you're better than me. You see the rap civil war going on and all these crazy things going on. I mean, we have to get above and beyond that to the next level. And then humanity will really take huge strides.
Do you wish that experience never happened to you?
I used to in the beginning, but now I see that it put me on the path where I am. I'm extremely happy now. You know, I'm married again. I've got a fresh start. You know, I'm very happy. I found somebody on the same frequency as me that works side by side with me and understands and travels with me. One of the hardest things to do is travel with somebody and be gone for 9 months in like deserts and stuff. You know what I'm saying? So I found somebody that really gets it. And so I'm really in a really good place right now. And the business is being built, utilizing my passion. I walked away from my call center business, even though it was very successful. I walked away from it. I gave my share to the other partners and just jumped off the cliff and said, I'm just going into the knowledge thing, and that's all I'm going to do. And didn't really have a plan or anything in the beginning, and then I waited 7 years to monetize it, but everything is going as planned. So I think everything happens in divine time, and I think I'm right where I'm supposed to be.
Do you wish you did anything different when you saw the aliens? You wish you said anything?
I couldn't. I couldn't say anything.
But I'm sure you think back to that moment.
Yeah.
Do you wish you like tried to communicate telepathically? Do you think you fucked it up? Do you like, damn, this was my one moment, I just screamed?
I don't think so. I think whatever that shaking was, it did something to me. Maybe they were just trying to put something in my head. I mean, I have no idea.
Are you familiar with Aleister Crowley's depiction of Lamb?
No.
Have you heard of this?
Aleister Crowley's depiction of a lamb?
Of the entity that he was talking to.
Oh, the entity. Oh, yeah.
Was that similar to what you saw?
Can you bring it up, Mark?
That's a horrifying, more like a clown. Like it's like the big overhead, right?
Mm-hmm.
When it kind of goes out like this. Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, it wasn't like that. It was more like the, almost like the ones you see in the movies, which means it told me right away that these movie directors or whoever is writing these movies, they know what these people
not
look
like that.
You see how his head is more like a big out like that with a big brow in the front. It didn't look like that, no. But that doesn't mean that he didn't see that. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's so many different people that exist in the universe. You know.
Do you feel like we're in end times right now? Like, do you make anything of like end time revelations or like biblical revelations of us being in the final days?
Yeah, I looked into all of that, and I personally feel that we're in the beginning of times. I think we're going into a new age. We're heading into the age of Aquarius pretty soon, and we're in the age of discovery, revelation, and growth. And I don't believe in the end times doctrine. I think that the end times doctrine has been preached over and over again to keep mankind believing that he's stuck and there's a cap over his head. I really truly believe that right now is, like I said before, one of the greatest times to be alive. And I believe that we're in the beginning. So people say, well, it's coming to an end. I go, no, we're coming to the beginning. The beginning, like the Mayans said, we've gone through 4 worlds and we're heading into the 5th. They weren't talking about destruction. They're talking about a 5th world in consciousness. And I think that we're at the precipice now of going into the next level. And there's a fork in the road coming. Do we go down this side or do we go down this way? And so hopefully we're nudging, we meaning this podcast and many other people are nudging people in the right direction to get them to wake up, question their reality, question themselves, ask questions, do better research, stay away from the foolishness, and try to elevate themselves.
Do you think Christ will return?
I don't think the Christ will return in the sense that people believe a being is just going to come back riding on a cloud. I believe that the return of Christ is the Christ consciousness. I believe Christ said that the Christ will return, the Christ consciousness in each and every one of us. Each and every one of us has a crystallized consciousness, and you can achieve that through growth, through personal growth. And I believe that the return is when everyone obtains the same level of frequency of love, peace, and respect, dignity, and elevation. We all become adept initiates. We all rise and we all return at the same time. It takes a certain number of people to achieve a certain level. It's like that monkey effect. When a certain amount of people get that frequency, the mass expands around the planet. And I think that the Christ is a consciousness that's going to return to the planet, not a person coming from the clouds.
Interesting.
Fascinating.
Yeah, that's Billy, this is some wild shit, man.
I understand you don't want to change or fuck with your mind's makeup, but I really think you should like dive into like ayahuasca and some of that stuff. Only because I had a past life regression.
Wow.
And there was a moment where it's like I couldn't see my grandmother, but for some reason I just knew my grandmother was there.
Wow.
And it was kind of how you explained that scenario where it's like our mouths aren't moving, we're not communicating, but at the same time there's some level of communication. And I was like, that was like eerily similar to
Wow.
Yeah, so I was like, you might want to jump into that. You've explored everything else. Like, that's one realm that you haven't touched yet.
Yeah, I'll back up my memory first into a DNA hard drive because they have those now, and then just in case, I'll have a backup.
So that is the concern for you, is that if you do these hallucinogenic drugs, that you could some way alter your brain chemistry, and then you would lose all of the productivity that you've had.
Yeah, because I know right now, myself and my wife, we know 3 people that are gone.
Yeah.
Gone out there, like who? They're gone.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can get them back, and so it's like,
From psychedelics? Or?
Yeah. Now my wife has done psychedelics. She did mushrooms once or twice, and it worked out great for her. And she knows a few people that have done it as well. Worked out phenomenal. I think it's a great tool. I'm just like, let me get
the
my
risk
memory.
is too high.
Let me get my brain backed up. Thoth would back up his entire consciousness and transfer it from one body to another. Inside these rejuvenation chambers that he talks about, the halls of Amenti. which is now the 2045 project in Russia is working on the same thing. They've already transferred a monkey's mind into a computer. And now they're doing human mind into a robot. And then by 2045, a human mind into an actual avatar. And so, let me get that back up.
I think we're working on that as well.
Yeah,
I
the
think
Avatar
the
project.
CEO of like Sirius XM or something like that, I think he downloaded his wife's consciousness or something onto some form of AI so we could like interact with it.
There's a lot of tech out there. I mean, the Avatar project has been doing it for years with DARPA.
What's
so they have
DARPA?
DARPA, that's the black budget program for the American military.
Oh.
They have to take all your trillions of dollars. You don't know what they're doing with it. So they have been working on the Avatar project. They actually have it live already, where a field robot in a bunker somewhere controls a robot. A field soldier in a bunker controls a field robot thousands of miles away through a consciousness link. Can feel, can move, can see.
Holy shit.
But it's not really there. So if the robot gets blown up, the soldier is still alive.
I mean, yeah, that's better.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's better, but it's also worse.
Yeah, no.
Because if you don't have to be concerned with the casualties of war, then you don't have to be concerned with war.
Yeah, they just put the AI in a real fighter jet and had it fight in a dogfight.
Well, that's what drones are, essentially, right?
So that's Skynet is online. Yeah, Skynet's online.
Are there any other things emerging in the world right now that people can fact check? Any other like just tasty kind of conspiracies that people should be looking into or that are concerning you right now globally?
Well, I know everyone was thinking that I don't know, is it going on YouTube? I got to watch my words then. The trails in the sky.
Chemtrails.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People were thinking that those were, big conspiracies. But I think that what happened in Dubai recently just proved that it's not.
Yeah, it's just weather.
Yeah.
They're just seeding the clouds.
That's what it is. They're seeding the clouds and making weather. Those trails that they pay $3,000 per flight to drop that stuff in the sky, sodium iodide and other chemicals. And look what it created, a disaster.
Yeah.
And the reason why this planet is cooling off so much is because of these trails.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's why it's cold in California. You can't even go to LA without a jacket anymore. It's chilly. For me, it's chilly in Florida when it drops into like 79, 80. And I'm freezing up here. When I got off the plane, I was dead almost.
Yeah.
But 54 degrees was like, what? But this cooling effect is happening because of these particulates that they're dropping in the sky. And they're real. And now you can actually go online and Google geoengineering contract. And if you have a plane and a company, you can apply for a private contract to drop this stuff in the sky for the government. So
why do you think the government's teasing all these like UFO whistleblowers now? And why do you think all those projects are happening right now?
Well, they're trying to get ahead of the game. So the UFO thing has come to a full head. They're real. But also we have some as well, UAPs, right? But they know what they are. We made them. And so now what they're saying is, where can we get more money? There just isn't enough money in wars anymore because we killed everybody. We already took over every country. There's nowhere else to go. I think one of the only central banks that are untouched is Iran. And there's no real money over there, so they're just not going to touch it. But what they said was, wow, we can still take money if there's a war, a pending war from space. So we have the Space Force. Now we're going to get one of these UAPs, potentially, to do what we had happen in the Gulf of Tonkin incident that started the Vietnam War. It's going to attack one of our ships. And now everybody's going to be pissed off. Get them! And now we're going to send trillions of dollars without questioning into this space war that they created to fund projects that they own, that they sit on the board of directors of, that they're taking underground seed money from, and building these multi-billion-dollar weapons that will never see the light of day, and siphoning money from the sweat of our backs.
So it's just a phony war to prop up the economy.
It's a money maker. All these companies, Lockheed Martin and Northrop Grumman, they're going to do what they always do. They'll tell the government, "Oh, we'll put a bid in for this brand new fighter jet," and then they'll take $15 billion down payment. They'll work on it for 15 years and say, "Oh, it didn't work. We need another $5 billion to see if we can fix these couple things on it. And maybe we can get it to fly." They give them another $5 billion, never works.
You're talking about the F-35?
There's just many of them. That's just one of many.
Yeah.
And they'll scratch that and do another one. But meanwhile, they've made billions of dollars
yeah.
off of nothing. And they do it over and over and over again. And that's the technique they use. Now, hey, we'll just take a couple trillion and we'll put it into the Space Force because we need space weapons.
Do you think we went to the moon?
Yeah, I do. I believe we went to the moon, but we lied about it. And what I mean by that is, yes, we went to the moon, but when you analyze several things, the footage, you see a mix of real footage and you see a mix of artificial footage.
That's my thinking too.
Now, why is that? I had to dig into this deeper. They discovered on the moon that there were artificial structures. There's evidence of war on the moon. There's debris laying all over the place. The moon mission was a reconnaissance mission, and the race to the moon between us and Russia was who's going to get their hands on that ancient technology first and bring it back and reverse engineer it. That's what the whole moon mission was all about. And that's why they show you this barren landscape, fake video. Meanwhile, it's all about getting the technology that's laying around. China sent a rover up there, and it got stuck in the debris. And it transmitted an image back before they can delete it, and that went worldwide. It was global. That was like 5 years ago. China rover stuck in the debris on the moon. I went and researched the Clementine mission. It was a military, former top secret mission that became declassified. And as soon as I saw the name Clementine, I knew what it meant. It never came back. Oh, my darling Clementine, you were lost and gone forever. I said, come on. I knew this thing didn't come back, and it never came back. It was a low lunar orbit mission to go around the moon in a low lunar orbit. When it got to the backside, what they call the dark side of the moon, it crashed into something. But on its way there, it transmitted gigs of images back, which was made publicly available. And those images have a lot of anomalies in them, things that shouldn't be there. So we know for a fact that there's something going on with the moon for real. And we got the FOIA, the Freedom of Information Act, on the black box audio from Apollo 11, and anyone can download it now. And guess what it says? It was on one of the documentaries I'm in. The astronaut is looking. What's his name? Neil Armstrong. He's looking down. He says, "Look at those concave structures down there. I bet the people down there never get out." That's on the black box audio from Apollo 11. He wasn't joking. And so, what people? What is he talking about? And why would he say that form of a dome, that form of a structure will make a dome, not a crater? So he's using code to say there's a dome down there and there's people inside of it. When they got Apollo 10, when they got to the backside of the moon, the dark side, comms, you're out of reach of comms now because the moon is blocking you from Earth. Well, something hacked into their comms and started playing this weird music in their comms from that side of the moon, this weird whistling musical note sound thing, and they all freaked out. And that's on the black box FOIA as well.
Wait, really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
There's a recording from the dark side of the moon.
That's right.
That was not planned by NASA or them.
That's correct. Oh, yeah.
What the fuck?
Yeah. They were like, "Who? Do you hear it? Do you hear that? Yeah, I hear it too. I hear it. I hear it. What is that? What is that?" They were freaking out like crazy. Their comms got hacked on the dark side of the moon.
Couldn't we see the debris with like telescopes, like hobby telescopes?
Yeah, if you have a Celestron 130, which is what I do, a Celestron 130, you can see stuff on the moon. If you know where to look, which basins to look into, you can see stuff out there. Now, is it crystal clear what you're looking at? No, because of the Earth's atmosphere and the haze sometimes, or the cloud cover, or some of the atmosphere kind of gives this wavy look. But there's a lot of images pre-Photoshop that you can get right on nasa.gov that clearly will show you objects are there, things that don't belong. And I think that, like I said before, the moon missions were reconnaissance missions.
And did we get some stuff?
Oh, we got some stuff.
Like, what's one object that was found that didn't belong?
They didn't tell
Oh,
you.
they're not going to tell you.
But what they did do, there's two things they did. One is they put an array of receiving dishes and sending dishes on the moon, and they transmit almost daily from Earth there via laser. What data are they sending? Who are they talking to? Why are they sending data back and forth to the moon daily? The next thing is the USGS.gov did a radar scan of the moon using the Arecibo dish, which now is broken. Unfortunately, we got a lot of good data from that dish. But the Arecibo dish, before it broke, it took ground-penetrating radar scans of the moon. And with those images from USGS.gov, you can clearly see 30 meters beneath the moon's surface. And you see what look like beams, structures beneath the surface of the moon. Could that be why all those craters are the same depth and they don't really go much deeper? I mean, I don't know. Why it rang like a bell when they dropped the limb or dropped the capsule on it? It's possible. And in the ancient text, Enlil talks to his son about going on a trip to the moon, and they go away for a long, long time. And they had to wear their eagle's masks because the atmosphere was thin. That's in the Sumerian tablets. How did they know that? And so it's pretty crazy stuff. In one battle, one of the families loses the battle and they're banished to live on the moon in the ancient text. Any truth to it? I don't know. That's just what it says.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, last thing I'm curious about. What's going on in the ocean?
Oh man, the ocean is like the most unexplored place in the universe for us, at least as humans. There's a lot of things going on underneath the ocean. If you ever fly across the Atlantic to like Qatar or something like that, or Dubai, if you can take Qatar Airways, they have that screen that shows you the scan of the ocean as you're flying over it. Just look at that for a few hours. You'll start seeing things. You'll start seeing what looks like remnants of structures underneath the water, and which is pretty crazy because it's like a scan. So you're seeing what's down there. Even if it's dark outside, you can still see what's down there. And some of those things look like remnants of ancient structures that have been destroyed or flooded over or whatever. But underneath the ocean, it's one of the greatest places to hide if you're an advanced civilization because nobody's doing any real research down there. And matter of fact, when I saw that UFO when I was a kid, I told two of my friends what I saw and we talked about it. And they were saying, maybe it came from the ocean. I was like, yeah, maybe it's from the ocean. Now, you got to remember, in 1977, we didn't have UFOs on TV. We didn't have all these, crazy cartoons talking about space. The spacey thing we had was the spaciest thing we had was the Jetsons. That was it. And that was more like fantasy to us. We had the Flintstones and Tom and Jerry, Mickey Mouse, things like that. The Thundercats, which was pretty amazing because they were from the Pleiades. But yeah, they were.
Really?
Yeah, they're Lyrans and Sirians from the Pleiadian star system, the Thundercats. I learned that later on, going back to research it. So pretty crazy, but we weren't getting programmed about aliens and UFOs. So we just had to think about what these things could be or where they came from. And we thought maybe the ocean. But I think that under the ocean, you'll find a lot of bases there, whether it be alien or ours, I'm not sure. But I think that we will find the best place to hide on this planet is the ocean.
What about Antarctica?
Oh, Antarctica is crazy. First of all, Antarctica wasn't in that location. It was in a more hospitable location. Why? How do we know this? The animals are coming up out of the melting ice. And so they take them to do autopsies on them, and they have undigested food in their throats and their stomachs. So what does that tell you? They were flash frozen. So now we're talking about tectonic plate slippage. We're talking about a huge continent slipping and moving into a different position, probably within hours, not even days, and creating a global flood. And when that water washes across that land with that cold air and that wind, everything is frozen very rapidly. So this is why those animals have undigested food, because they were frozen extremely fast. And the Antarctica was in a more hospitable location. So we know that. Now there's a giant hole down there, about 30 meters wide. This hole is visible from Google Earth. And when you look at that hole, that 30-meter wide opening, you see all the bases from the biggest countries around Earth are there in this research area. And they're all working in collaboration, no war zone. And so no war zone. There's one other area down there, though, one other research base that makes you scratch your head. The Rockefeller Foundation is there. So they have a research base down there as well, I think right next to Germany. And so we have a guy on our TV network named Brad Olson. He went down there and he got on land and got allowed to get off the boat and come on land. And it's on a TV series called The Secrets of Antarctica that we have on our TV network. But yeah, it's crazy. Now, Buzz Aldrin went down there. This is when the presidents and all the famous people were going down there at one point. All the leaders of the world were going down there. He got invited to go down there. He hopped on Twitter and said, the people that they're meeting with were facing the most, he said, we're facing the most ultimate evil. We're facing the ultimate evil. And then the tweet got deleted about 4 or 5 hours later, but everybody already screenshotted it. It's too late. And once you get it on Twitter, you know how that is. And then they flew him out of there and said he was getting sick. He was coming down with some kind of cold or something. He wasn't sick. Whoever they were meeting in that hole, he didn't like what he saw. And now to add to that, I went to do some training for remote viewing with Major Ed Dames. He's on, you can look him up on Wikipedia. He was the head at one point of the CIA remote viewing program, right? Project Stargate. And so I was trained by him for 2 days, total of about probably 16 hours, 1 year, the next year about another 10 hours. But in our conversations after class, he told me that there's people that live there, not from Earth, that can come and go as they please, and there's nothing we can do to stop them. That's what Major Ed Dames told me.
Were you able to remote view?
Yeah, I was. The reason why I did the remote viewing is because I actually took a test that was sent to me.
What is remote viewing?
That's when you send your mind outside of space and time to look for a target anywhere. So let's say you have a target for me.
Explain that again.
There's like Stranger Things. Stranger Things is
yeah.
like an example of like remote viewing.
Yeah. It's a whole process you have to go through. It could take hours. But let's say let's say you're my director and you've got a target that you want me to bring back intel on. The military, the CIA use this in real time. So you will, let's say it's a target, let's say it's a file inside of a cabinet, inside of a desk in Russia. You will attribute consciously a random number that's on this random number generator to that file. You'll get the number and you will sync it by thinking about this number is attached to this file that we need to see what's in it. You will then give me, the remote viewer, the number. That's it. That's all I get. And from that, there's a process you go through. The first thing is you get to control your breathing. And the second thing is you have to create something called an idiom, which is a scribble on a piece of paper. From there, you go into this whole process, step by step by step, of drawing what the target's bringing you. So you never physically go there, you send your mind there. And the US military and even the Russian government have used this for decades, the same
crazy.
technique.
The lady I had the past life regression, she told me about that. She's like, certain colleagues of hers get used by the CIA to find like assets, and like, they do it like telepathically.
They do it. They do it all the time.
Fucking nuts.
I'm so confused. How?
It's nuts.
I don't understand it.
I'll tell you what, I have a whole 4-hour class I taught on this. I will send you a link to watch it for free. I'll send you the whole link. You guys can download it, watch it, and check it out. It's a 4-hour class, and you can then duplicate the processes that I teach in that show, in that workshop. You can duplicate it for yourself.
This is Billy. We could be here all day. Thank you so much for taking the time. Is there anything else you guys want to ask Billy before we get out of here?
No, I think we solved it.
Yeah.
Dude, thank you so much for sharing all the stories with us. This has been awesome.
Thank you.
Keep us posted.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We want to know about all the new stuff going down. And if the aliens come back to you, you got to let us know.
yeah.
Thank you so much. You guys know where to find Billy Carson. We'll put the link below. Wow.
Yeah.
All right. Billy Carson, everybody.
Thank you, man.